Welcome to the Nerd Party.
Hello and welcome to another Between Takes edition of Missing Frames. Normally on Missing Frames, we watch all the movies we should have seen by this point in our lives. Between Takes is a little bit off the concept to allow me and others to do franchise watches, interviews with people I love, and this time it is another Franchyze Boiz episode. The Franchyze Boiz episode I've been waiting for my entire life. By the way, this is Shawn Eastridge. I don't think I even said who this is, as if you don't know. But we've got the Franchyze Boiz back in the house. We've got Brad Gullickson in this corner.
Can you read my mind, Shawn? Do you know what it is that you do to me? I don't know who you are. Just a friend from another star. Here I am, like a kid out of school, holding hands with a god. I'm a fool. Will you look at me, quivering like a little girl, shivering? You can see right through me. Can you read my mind? Can you picture the things I'm thinking of, wondering why you are all the wonderful things you are, Shawn? You can fly. You belong in the sky. You and I could belong to each other. If you need a friend, I'm the one to fly to. If you need to be loved,
here
here
I am. Read my mind.
Shawn.
Do, 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 do. I know that you read that off something.
No. Straight off the dome.
Straight off because I could do that straight off the dome. I just want everyone to know. And then we've got Aaron Prescott in the other corner. Aaron, how are you going to follow that up?
You've got me. Who's got you?
Okay, that's pretty good. Pretty good. This is since the dawn of the Franchyze Boiz back in 2019. The first Franchyze Boiz episode we ever did was the Batman films, the Burton Schumacher Batman films, and I feel like we have been leading our way back to this conversation.
And it all culminates with BVS.
BVS.
That is, we will save that for a future episode. We'll do a 2-hour version, and then we'll do the 5-hour Snyder cut of our conversation about
In black and
BVS.
white.
In black and white. But this
Sweet.
is the first part of what I think will ultimately be 2 or 3 parts. We're gonna do in this episode the Donner film and the sequels that it spawns. So Superman 1 through 4. We'll talk about the Donner cut, and we will talk about Superman Returns. And then in our second episode, we will be taking on the Snyder films. And then there will likely be a conversation about the new James Gunn film. As everyone by this point no doubt knows, I am thrilled beyond all reason.
What
for
about
this film.
Supergirl? Does Supergirl fall into this episode?
I say yes. And Steel.
That's right. Oh man, we just do another episode for like
There
kind
should
of
be
the offshoot.
Yeah.
Supergirl Steel episode.
That'll be neither here nor there. It will be over there, maybe far away where nobody will listen to it. So for right now, we're just here to talk about the Salkind, Donner, Christopher Reeve, Margot Kidder, all of that fun stuff. And then the film that desperately just wanted to be Richard Donner's Superman, which is Superman Returns. So that's what we're here to do.
But I'm also anxious. You've been doing so much excellent Superman coverage with your Celebrating Superman episodes, talking to so many incredible creators. Yeah, it is intimidating.
Well, this does kind of fall under that Celebrating Superman umbrella, but I think, you guys have earned the right to be here. I just want you to know I am very thrilled and excited to talk to you.
And like the other thing is, Shawn, like you are the world's biggest Superman fan. I think
that's on the record.
Wikipedia. And
I will say this does feel like, we did Star Trek, which I think, Brad, you were kind of like, I'm a massive Star Trek fan, but you're certainly like the Star Trek fan of the group. Aaron, have we done a franchise that you would say is like, that's my that's my jam. Like that's the one that I am the most passionate about.
I don't know. I always it kind of ebbs and flows. There's nothing I like I've always kind of said I'm not perfect at like anything, but I'm pretty good at a lot of different things. I kind of see myself in the same way of movies. Like I like bits and pieces of a lot of different things. I mean, maybe Godzilla, because I did push that on you guys a little bit.
Oh, yeah, hell
Because
yeah.
more
That was
because
you.
I just wanted to
Aaron's.
see pain on Brad's face. That's
Oof.
all I wanted.
No, that's got to
Yeah, I'll take Godzilla.
So this is definitely like Superman is my guy. Like this, and it's funny, I would even say this is my favorite franchise. Maybe not even my favorite franchise of the ones we've done. But it is like I am such a huge Superman fan, and Donner's Superman is so responsible for that I tend to have like a very intense passion for this entire series, even though I think it is the series as a whole is far from perfect. Like this
I
is
mean, like the majority of them might all be bad.
I don't disagree with you.
I
I
love
think
that,
even
but there's some dogs here.
yes, there are. And I would also say like it is one of the more fascinating franchises we've done, at least, but certainly out there.
Oh, yeah.
Like just like the production history, like
Easy.
how these movies got made, like Donner getting fired and replaced by Lester. Like just it is a baffling film franchise, and it is honestly kind of a miracle that we even got one one great Superman movie, all things considered.
Says you. We'll see.
But,
We'll see if there's just one.
well, Aaron, since you were so you're primed to
Oh,
pipe
boy.
in so early, what is your memory of this franchise, seeing it for the first time? Maybe not even just like Superman in general.
Yeah.
That's like, was it the films? Were you introduced to Superman through the films?
Oh no, it was the films first. I'm sure it was 1 and 2. Just kind of felt, in a way, as the Salkinds probably wanted or thought of it, is just one kind of blur of a movie. And the VHS tapes, the like recorded ones, just the white strip of paper. It said Superman 1 and 2 on it. That was on heavy rotation all the time, and so I did in my younger days, Superman 2 was definitely the more exciting to me, and that's the one I probably gravitated
Oh
more
yeah.
towards. It was my Return of the Jedi. It was like when I was a kid, those were the two movies that I thought were just like that. That's just we've peaked with action and adventure with these movies, and so yeah, those were always a part of it. And I also just I do have fond memories of all of them. I have fond memories of Richard Pryor skiing down a skyscraper. I had fond memories of Lionel Luthor in his sweet ass car.
Don't spoil it. Don't spoil it. We'll get
What?
to
There's
it. We'll get to it.
It's Lenny Luthor.
Is it?
It's
Is it Lionel?
Lionel is the dad in Smallville.
Oh, is it? Okay. Well,
There's a Lionel.
okay.
You were close.
Anyways, but yeah, Superman has always kind of been, especially 1 and 2, were a huge part of growing up. I didn't really fully get into the comic books. I feel like I was kind of maybe intimidated. Superman just felt like the godlike character, and so it was never the one I gravitated towards. I'm definitely the lesser knowledge of Superman compared to the two of you. So I'll be looking to both you guys for some historical context and whatnot. I did read some smatterings here and there, and All Star Superman's an all timer. But yeah, I 1 and 2 were top tier films for me.
Yeah, I mean, being an 80s kid, the Superman movies were always on. They were certainly my introduction to the character. Maybe I saw Superman first through Super Friends, the animated series. Some of my earliest books were Batman and Superman Fisher Price read-alongs that came with like a little cassette tape.
Those are great. I miss like when you turn the page and they do the chime.
Yeah,
those were great.
Yeah, love them.
Bring those back. Bring those back, Warner Brothers.
They don't need to because I still got them, baby. Yeah, and so they were a big deal. Superman 2, like Aaron, was the one that I watched a lot. Superman 3 was a film that I watched to a point, and then it got too scary, and I could not watch
Heck
it.
yeah.
And Superman 4 was like the funny one. That so like to me, I feel like I watched 2 and 4 the most.
And those are the ones that are also the most action oriented. It's the one where Superman actually has someone to punch.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Whereas 1 and 3 were kind of, as a kid, it's like, oh yeah, 1's the one where you get to learn all about Superman, where he came from. And then 3 was the weird one where it's like he's fighting a computer and then he's also fighting
And he's
himself. What is
sharing
going on?
so much of the screen time with other people.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. But like as a kid, just like you guys, I think 2 and 4 were the ones I gravitated towards because of that comic book action, that thrill as a kid. You're just like, yes, I want to see like Superman fight the bad guys. Superman 2 was my first Superman movie. I was vaguely aware of the character. Just as a kid, I feel like it's impossible for you not to be aware of Superman, but I have really distinctive memories of being 3 or 4 and wearing a Superman costume. I've told this story before, but I still think it's so funny. I remember seeing a commercial for the television broadcast of Superman the movie, and I was probably about 3 or 4. I must have been around that age. And one of the scenes they show, one of the clips they show, was Lex Luthor pushing Superman into the swimming pool with the kryptonite necklace. And
Mm.
I remember asking my dad, just being really confused, like, wait a second, Superman's powerful, he can fly. How did he get pushed into a pool? And I asked my dad, who in his wisdom, instead of just saying, well, he had a kryptonite necklace on and kryptonite's his only weakness, my dad said, oh, he had a stomach ache. And
What?
I was more confused by that as a 3 or 4-year-old than I would have been if he just said there was a magic rock that stole Superman's powers. I remember just being like, Superman gets stomach aches, but he's invincible? How does that work?
And that's when all
It
your
didn't.
food allergies kicked in, right? Yeah,
That's when all my food allergies
yeah,
kicked in,
yeah.
and it all goes back to that childhood trauma. But my first real viewing of Superman and my first exposure to Superman, just seeing him in action and understanding what Superman was Superman 2. I remember finding that VHS tape, like you, Aaron. Like my parents used to tape movies off their television broadcasts, and I found Superman 2 and I put it on. And what's great about it is that opening credit sequence that really just introduces you to it. It's a recap of the first film. So that was literally my first time ever seeing Superman in action. It was the first time I remember seeing, like, oh, he disguises himself as like a reporter. He wears glasses, like he's in disguise. I didn't know that. Like, I just remember very distinctly seeing the opening credits of Superman 2 and that montage and just being like, oh my God, this is Superman. Like, this is what my parents have been telling me about. And just, it was so exciting for me, having heard so much about it, but seeing it and like it living up to everything I'd heard. And so it was a major moment for me. Like, as a film fan, Back to the Future was a major staple for me. But I think Superman 2 came before Star Wars, and then it was Return of the Jedi. Like Aaron, it was the same thing. Bringing it to the first film, Donner's film, I do remember eventually coming back to that film, the first one, and seeing it, and I remember thinking of it as kind of like not the boring one, but like the one that's not as fun and exciting as Superman 2. It was like, oh yeah, this is the one that has like the opening credits doesn't show any scenes. It just shows like the cast members and the crew members. And that I remember as a kid thinking like, yeah, this one's pretty good, but I want to see him fight somebody. But Brad, do you remember seeing Donner's original Superman film for the first time and what your reaction was?
No, I don't remember seeing any of these for the first time. It's like Star Wars; they were all
They're
just
part of your
like
life.
part of the environment.
Mm-hmm.
I remember seeing Superman the movie for the first time on the big screen when I was in my 20s at the Alamo Draft House in Ashburn, and being just kind of knocked over by it and falling in love with it all over again in a similar fashion to when I saw Jaws on the big screen, also at that same Alamo, and discovering really how much I love that film as a contemporary experience and not just a nostalgia piece.
Aaron, do you remember seeing Donner's Superman for the first time?
No, I think it's the same thing as like just growing up. It just felt ingrained. It felt like a part. Like I feel like I can feel like when I'm watching certain scenes, stuff kind of comes back. I do remember being terrified of the possibility of being buried alive in a car
Ugh.
because of Superman. And also thinking Mrs. Tessmacher was an absolute fox. Like
Oh
there's
yeah.
just certain things that just like are ingrained in your brain. But no, it's just kind of always been there.
I remember it's great, and I love, like, I have these very specific memories of Superman that I can pinpoint because there are films and there are things we've talked about where it's like I don't exactly remember, but I think, obviously I'm such a massive fan, and being able to remember these things with such intense recall. A lot of these things that we love come from our childhoods and like the memories of that. And a lot of that I think drives why I still love Superman so much to this day, but I have such intense memories of seeing Superman and falling in love, and particularly Donner's Superman. The moment I fell in love with it, because I'd grown up watching like Superman 2, and that was the one I loved the most, and Superman 1 was like it was fine, but I remember uh Donner's Superman. I was maybe about 12 or 13. I was a little bit older, and Donner's Superman was on television. And it was just like dinner time, and I think my mom was like, "Yeah, sure, put on Superman." And I remember watching it and suddenly realizing like, "Oh, wait a second. This is actually a great film." It was a breakthrough moment for me as somebody who was starting to like really get into films and start wanting to understand how they were made and what made a great film great. I remember watching Superman at the age of 11 and realizing there was a craft behind it. And I remember distinctly thinking, "Oh, this movie's like really funny. Like but funny in a clever way. Like, yeah, there's campy stuff in it, but the jokes that are like punchlines were genuinely funny." I remember the moment where Pa and Ma, after baby Clark Kent lifts the truck and saves Jonathan from being crushed, they have that beat where they look back at the spaceship and look back at him. And I remember thinking, that's really funny. Like, that's a very clever visual gag. And from
Mm-hmm.
that point on, it became a like my obsession with Donner's film in particular was driven by that kind of like it started to peel back the layers of cinema and like starting to understand like why was this film working so well versus like when I would go back and watch Superman 2, I'm like, this one doesn't feel as strong to me as like a visual. And then you learn more about the production history and all that stuff. And it was just such a fascinating moment. But I remember just being so thrilled by the helicopter sequence and the moment where after catching Lois, he catches the helicopter, and just like that scene still works so well to this day. But I remember watching that, having seen the film and kind of forgotten about it because I hadn't seen it since I was so young, just thinking to myself, like, this is like really freaking awesome. Like, this is a great movie. And I think that was like the moment where I really went from, yeah, Superman's great and I grew up with him and he's my favorite superhero, to being like, oh no, like I love this movie and I love this character. And so much of what I think people love about Superman today comes from this first Donner film.
Yeah, and like, where we are right now with comic book superhero cinema all begins really here.
Mm-hmm.
78, this is really the second wave of comic book adaptations. Before this, obviously there were the, Superman dramas and the Superman serials and the Superman TV show. There was a whole bunch of comic book serials in the 40s and 50s. The year before this is the Incredible Hulk TV show, the
Yes.
Spider-Man TV movie. The year after this is the Captain America TV movie, and then of course Batman 66. And I think Batman 66, as much of a fad that show was, it came on strong and left even stronger. It only lasted 3 seasons, but kind of tainted the mainstream's idea of what comic books were and comic book movies could be. And so to get Richard Donner to adapt Superman with such an earnest point of view and such a love for these characters, and to treat it with reverence, feels like a big shift, and a shift that audiences were ready for, coming off
Mm-hmm.
of Star Wars and these other superhero TV shows.
Yeah.
Well, I think he puts it right into the tagline. You'll believe a man can fly. They made it into something that had this, like they knew that what their source material was, but they knew they also wanted to have this sort of grounded human element that felt realistic. Like they're not just talking about the effects of making some groundbreaking, special effects wire work and stuff, but they were talking about, creating a character that could absolutely feels like he could, be vulnerable one second, but also impenetrable the next. And that's what Donner completely made work. And it's just one of those things where like the movie works for me. The first 45 minutes of this movie feel absolutely perfect. I love like the trajectory where it goes. I really like where the movie goes, but up until the point where it hits where they transition to New York City, Clark is just, he just found the Fortress of Solitude. His dad just died, and it moves on into, Clark becoming a big boy now and going off and becoming Superman for real. That first like 45 minutes just feel like a perfect trajectory of storytelling, of craftsmanship, of character development. It's really beautiful. I love the interaction between Clark and his dad and Pa Kent. It's such like a, I don't know. I completely bought into the relationship of what a foster parent,
Yeah.
what they can do and what they can provide, love, care, and affection for somebody that feels out of place and not welcome in this world sometimes.
Well, that's
Can we, before we move into Smallville, can we stay on Krypton for a little bit?
please,
Heck yeah.
Krypton.
And Marlon Brando and Jor-El and the introduction of Zod and his minions.
Yes.
It's a wild comic book opening.
It is,
when
it's
they were shouting guilty, like you talk about another terrifying moment. Hearing the word guilty, those big giant floating heads just nearly sent me.
I love that opening too, because it's hard to watch it without the knowledge of, like, we know who General Zod is. General Zod is so ingrained in our culture, and all of us obviously have seen Superman 2. But like watching this as its own film, like if this was the only Superman film, we spend a lot of time with these criminals, and it's like, who are they? What are we doing here? Why is this so important?
And
to the rest
I would
of the
imagine if I was in that audience in 1978, first weekend, and it spends all this time setting up Zod and his cronies in the Phantom Zone, I'd be like, all right, I can't wait till this Phantom Zone cracks open.
Right.
We get a fist fight at the end of this movie. And then they don't reference it again.
That was,
when they
and that
go
was
off the Phantom Zone, it's done.
That was
Yeah.
the intention of the film. It was supposed to have a cliffhanger ending where they break out and Zod yells "free," and then it cuts to the credits and it says, coming soon, Superman 2. I'm glad that wasn't the ending. Like, I'm glad the production turmoil led to Superman being its own complete film, but it does make that opening feel very, very strange.
I love the movie. I do think it's nearly perfect, but it does feel weird.
Yeah. And it's also, you combine that with the fact that Brando, one of the first big things that happened was, Alexander Salkind and Ilya Salkind, his son, they were, Alexander Salkind was essentially like, I don't know if you could call him a mobster. He was certainly not, the money he had to make films was not coming by the most legal means. Let's just say that. And they had purchased the rights to Superman after Ilya had suggested it. He was, Ilya was in his 20s, I think, and knew more about Superman. Alexander did not know anything, but they got the money. And part of the way they got as much money as they did for this epic production was by getting Brando and Hackman to sign on with these enormous deals, these enormous payouts. Like, we're going to give you millions of dollars to be in a fraction.
I believe Brando gets $3 million for his screen time.
Yes. It might
and what, 10 or 11% of box office?
Yes. Percentages of the gross earnings from the box office. So
meanwhile, Jerry Siegel and Joe Shuster died in bankruptcy.
Yes, they were.
They weren't impoverished, but they were in debt. I believe Joe Shuster was $200,000 in debt
Yeah.
when he died.
Let's just
Same.
yes, it's
Same.
it's absurd the way the business works. And of course, like the Hollywood version of the story makes it even more absurd because again, Brando is getting paid absurd amounts of money to appear for like 5 minutes in this film. So this is all to say the opening of the film on the planet Krypton has to include Brando in a
Mhm.
prominent enough way that it makes it feel like yes, it was worth casting Brando in this role. We have enough of Brando in the movie to give it that level of seriousness, but also to quote unquote justify his price tag. Is it justified? I don't know, but I will say I really like Brando as Jor-El. I think
So do I.
he
I
does
really
get a
like
lot
him.
of crap.
Yeah.
He, you know, and understandably and probably reasonably. But I think what he does, and Aaron, I think what you're talking about is he brings a level of gravitas to the role. The way
Like,
Donner shoots it and the way the story unfolds gives it that mythic quality that it's like we can believe in this. We can believe in what's happening, and they play it. He plays it straight. He plays it exactly the way Donner wanted to execute it, and I think he's really really solid.
the movie opens with a curtain being drawn. You're about to watch
Mhm.
something. You get, the box ratio, the 9:3 ratio. We see an Action Comics. It's not Action Comics number one. It's a fabrication, whatever. Uh, we see an
Nerd.
Action Comics issue flip open. We hear a child's voice read the origin of Superman, and we lead into the final panel of the Daily Planet. The Daily Planet's going to be a big deal. And then as the camera pushes in on the Daily Planet over the globe of the building into John Williams's score and these incredible credits, like the movie is saying from the jump, this is the Godfather. Like,
Yes.
this is
Mhm.
not a child story. This is not Batman 66. This is
Mhm.
not TV. This is myth. This is Hercules.
Yeah.
This is Shakespeare.
Yeah, and it's,
Yeah.
the first line of the film is very purposefully, this is no fantasy. Like that was very, very, that's the intent of the material. And when Donner originally got that script, it was not the original intent of the producers or the writers. It was a film that was going to be more in line with Batman 66, but with a massive budget. And I was fortunate and blessed enough to have gotten to talk with Richard Donner. It's the only, as far as Franchyze Boiz history is concerned, this is, I think, the only time any of us have talked to the filmmaker involved. No, Brad, you've gotten to talk with some cool people with
Nobody as cool as Richard Donner.
but I mean, one of my biggest questions is like, what prompts a filmmaker in his mid 40s, like a filmmaker who is experiencing a level of success in his career, unprecedented at that point. He'd just done The Omen, so he was finally hitting the big times. He was an A-list Hollywood director, and you get this script of a costume character. Comic books are not necessarily respected in the way they are today. And Batman 66, as much as I love it, did not help that. How do you take this and look at it and say, no, I don't want to go the route of parody? I know that
You hire Mario Puzo.
Oh yeah, well,
Yeah.
Mario Puzo's script, which I've read, is silly
Not
and
good.
goofy,
Yeah.
and it is not great. And
But the name means something.
the name being something like the Brando name, like the Hackman
Yeah.
name. That's what the Salkinds were doing. They were getting the names, they just didn't have the substance. They knew they could get the funding and the money if they got these names attached. But Donner was the one who came in and said, like, no, this is American myth. Like, this is a meaningful character that we can't treat this character like this. We have to give him respect because it means too much to people. And I've been so baffled by that decision because it's not the normal decision I think another filmmaker could have made. It's not something. I don't think there are many filmmakers at the time who would have been as humble as Donner was in that decision to say, like, we are not better than this character. We are not going to come in and act as if we're smarter than the character. We need to get inside the material and recognize its worth for what it is. And there is a lot to love about it. And I asked him, I said, like, why did you make that decision? That's not the decision I think many people would have made in your position, getting I think you got like $1 million for, to make the two films back to back. it could have easily been something where he comes in and phones it in and it's just like, sure, yeah, whatever. And he didn't. He said, this is a meaningful character and this is a meaningful project, and I'm going to imbue it with that meaning and the love I have. And what he told me was like, as a kid, I believed in it. As a kid, like
Yeah.
he meant something to me, and I didn't want to see that destroyed.
I think that's an important element to the adaptation as well. Is like Superman was already an icon by 1978. Like almost immediately after the publication of Action Comics #1 in 1938, it took off. You know, that was a time when comics were selling millions of copies a month to millions of children and GIs and what have you. And like almost immediately the comic gets adapted into radio and then Max Fleischer's cartoons, and then we get the TV show. So like by the time we get to 1978, like Superman is part of the pop culture conscious. The way that like Star Wars is today, like everyone in America knows what Star Wars is, whether they've seen it or not. Everyone in America and probably the world in 1978 knew who Superman was, and you couldn't even really say that about Batman in 1966.
Yeah, it's again, this is I don't know if people realize, because we take things like Star Wars and Superman for granted. These movies exist. They're out there and we love them and they're amazing and they were popular, and you know, we've seen the course that cinema has taken. But I really really stress this to people, like Superman could have been Batman 66. Without Adam West and Burt Ward, it could have been a disaster. Everything was working against it. Without Richard Donner, I don't think Superman or comic books or superheroes are where they are today. I know that seems like hyperbole. I know it seems like I'm being dramatic, but I really truly think like there was a direction this project could
Yeah,
have gone
I
that
don't
was
think
like,
it's hyperbole.
yeah, I think there was a direction this project could have gone where it was like, yeah, this stuff is kind of stupid, isn't it?
It could have gone the Richard Lester direction.
Exactly.
Yeah,
We can
yeah.
see what happens when Donner is not at the helm. It is not a question mark. It's not speculative. We see in this franchise, and we will talk about in this franchise, what happened when the reins were no longer his. And I think it is a credit to his ability as a filmmaker, but also just his ability to tap into that inner child. I think you see that in his entire career, but never was it as important to pop culture, to superheroes or comic books as it was here. And I think everything we see, you know, of course, yes, the superhero genre and film, but I really do think like comic books in general, Donner was an affirmation that said, this is meaningful and it matters, and let's treat it as such. And it paid off. Obviously, the film was beloved and it made so much money, but
Shawn, can you talk about verisimilitude and
verisimilitude, what a wonderful word that nobody would know if it wasn't for for Richard Donner and Superman. But it's the belief that like no matter how outlandish things are, even though we're dealing with a man who runs around with his underwear outside his pants and can fly and shoot laser beams from his eyes, like we need to believe in what's happening. That was what Donner came into the project saying. Verisimilitude is the belief in something, even if it's ridiculous. We're going to create a world where everything feels believable. We're going to believe in this world. And that's, I think that guiding principle is what makes this movie work so well, because it's a film that made flesh and blood this character and all the crazy things he does. And with all due respect to the George Reeve show, which I know people love, and it for good reason, it's a product of its time and it's a lot of fun, but I don't think it quite works in the same way this movie works. It doesn't quite like cement the legend in the same way this movie does. And so much of that comes from Donner's ability to say like,
well, like I would just argue that the legend was already cemented, and this was a reminder of the legend.
yes, I think that, yeah, I like that. I think you're right, Brad.
Now we also gotta give some flowers to Christopher Reeve in the
Yes.
title role. Rewatching it the other day, the dude is just so good
Yeah.
in both modes, the Kal-El and Clark Kent.
Like Donner, without Christopher Reeve, this is not the same movie. Like
Yeah.
it's perfect casting.
And he's so good with Margot Kidder, and Margot Kidder is exceptional.
Margot Kidder's awesome. Like the two of them together is it's perfect.
You
And
almost forget that it is like an hour until we get either of
completely.
them.
Yeah, yeah.
It is funny, but like they're the heart of the movie, and I know that was like Richard Donner with his creative partner and bestie Tom Mankiewicz, who had worked on Roger Moore Bond films amongst other films. That was the key for Donner. He was like, we have to get the love story working. If we get that working, everything else will fall into place. But I think it speaks to why Superman had such a intense loving reaction from audiences. People came into that probably expecting spectacle, and you got that, but I don't think people went into that movie expecting it to be as charming and funny and heartfelt as it was. And so much of that is because of Margot Kidder and Christopher Reeve. I mean, how many superhero movies are there where one of the big set pieces of the film is like a 15-minute conversation between the
Yeah.
hero and his love, and then a like an 8-minute silent flight through Metropolis / New York City that ends with a spoken word poem that
Yeah.
is
That was
That
cheesy
supposed to be
and
a song,
somehow,
though.
yeah, it was
Ooh.
going to be a song. She was supposed to sing it.
Ooh.
Thank God she didn't. But it's
that
it's cheesy as all get out, and like yet by the end of Margot's little thing, just like when Brad recited it here, there was a little tear in my eye, and I the sincerity of that whole sequence, it's so wonderful. But I think that's why so many people fell in love with the movie. I think that's why, like, women come to this movie. My wife adores this movie, and I think so much of why she adores it is that
She was
heart and
forced to.
charm. She
Okay.
was forced to. Yeah,
Yeah.
that was, I made her sign that contract
Lisa
before.
and I watching that rooftop date sequence. Lisa's word was swoon.
Mm.
Christopher Reeve is so flirty, and he just makes you melt.
Yeah,
And there's that look when I can't remember what Margot or what Lois Lane asks him, but I think it's his age. And he's like,
yes,
I'm over 21. And then he just puts his like index finger to the top of his lip and he
yes,
smiles and he looks over his hand. That is like, that's butter.
yes.
Like you're done.
Well, but what's
No matter who you are, you're in love.
but it's not like sex pot James Bond suave. It's
No, it's
polite, kind, flirty. Like, you're gonna take this guy home to your parents, and they're gonna love him as much as you do. But that sexual chemistry is there. It's just also this guy this guy pulls out the chair for her before she sits down. Before they
He's
sit
a
down.
good dude, but he's
Yes.
a sexy dude, and he is crazy handsome.
Yes,
Mhm.
exactly. And I mean, that sequence is so wonderful. But I do want to go back to what Aaron was saying about Glenn Ford and Pa Kent and Ma Kent, because this is a film, like, if I'm going to knock the film for anything, the film is so beautifully done in its execution, and we as the audience already know who Superman is, where he comes from, why he fights, why he does what he does. The film just kind of affirms everything we know about Superman, and everything from writing to cast, everything is so perfectly executed that we just kind of accept it. But the film doesn't really give us much of a why, who is Superman, why does he do what he does. I think the Smallville sequence is so crucial and so wonderful. As a kid, I'm kind of like, oh, this is sort of boring. I wish we could
Oh,
get
it's
to
awesome. It's
Superman.
so
Great.
good.
So good. And yeah, I probably thought the same way as a kid. Like I was, oh come on, let's get to the flying.
Yeah, exactly. But like, Aaron, I think you're right. I think what it does is between the planet Krypton and the Smallville sequence, you're building, it's so brilliant. Donner is building this world and creating, before we get into all the superpowered stuff, it's a world we can believe in, and it's like stuff we recognize. It's like, the Norman Rockwell paintings. Smallville is that beautiful Americana, but then this also like really beautiful heartfelt relationship where he's just like expressing like, why can't I do the things why can't I show off? Like, why can't I be what everything I am supposed to be? And these wonderful words from Pa
Can
Kent,
can I
who is,
can I just read the
yeah,
Pa Kent quote when they're on the driveway scene?
yeah.
Like it's phenomenal. When you first came to us, we thought people would come and take you away because when they found out you know the things you could do, and that worried us a lot. But then a man gets older and he starts thinking differently, and things get very clear. And one thing I do know, son, that is that you're here for a reason. I don't know whose reason or whatever the reason is. Maybe it's because I don't know, but I do know one thing. It's not to score touchdowns.
Yeah.
That's phenomenal. That's so
We
good.
spend maybe 2 minutes with this relationship at
Yeah.
most. And in those 2 minutes is a whole wealth and world of character development and beautiful performance. And it really touches on the heart of who Superman is, like how he was raised. We don't necessarily need a like extensive character building sequence because we get it in this kind of capsule moment, and it works so well that I'm shocked every time I watch the movie where I'm like, God, that was like 30 seconds. And yet
Yeah.
it resonates through the entire film.
And I think it's extremely important how effective Pa's death is, and the
Yeah.
performance of Pa's death from Glenn Ford.
Mm.
When he's slowly running up the hill and his son has gone well beyond him, and we cut to him and we hear his last words, and as he holds his arm, we feel that we express it as we're seeing it too.
Yeah, yeah.
And
It's
the best thing is that Clark knows somewhat of what his abilities are at that point, and no matter what his abilities were or could possibly get to, there's absolutely nothing he could have done for him right there.
Right.
And I
And
think
now
that shows the
I don't want to
vulnerability
say
of being a human.
I don't
What?
want to say the dreaded words yet, so I'm not going to. But let's flash forward to
We're
2012.
we're on the same page. Don't worry.
And it's just interesting to hold those two Kents.
100%. 100%.
100%. And something interesting behind the scenes. This is something I found out recently. I read Richard Donner's biography. It's called, hold on, I want to make sure I actually get the author's name, but it's called You're the Director, You Figure It Out. It's fantastic. The author's name is James Christie. And something I did not know about Richard Donner until I read this book, literally just like a couple months ago. Donner's father died of a heart attack when Donner was, I think, in maybe his late teens, early 20s, but he was not able to say goodbye to him. Now, I have not read every Superman comic. I know that in the comic books at this time, I think the Kents primarily were known, at least in the Superman lore, as like, oh, they raised him, but mostly they're kind of a transition to like, they instilled in him the values he needed to become Superman. And then there were Superboy comics where I think they played a more prominent role.
Yeah, they did. It was constantly retconning.
Yeah. So there was no real consistency to the Kent's story, except for like, they were kindly, they were sweet, they were farmers, and they raised him right. As far as how they died and what impact that might have had on him, I don't know how prevalent that was in Superman lore until this film. I also don't know if it was a heart attack in the comic book that's what caused Jonathan Kent's death. So I thought it was really, really interesting that Donner's own father, who he loved very much, died of a heart attack when Donner was relatively young, maybe not too far from Clark's age.
Originally, the Kents die of old age.
Yes, yeah. So I think since this film, it's been like, oh, if Jonathan Kent dies, it's a heart attack. You know what I mean? And it's always like Jonathan Kent goes first and Martha Kent is around. And then, when the John Byrne reboot came around, one of the most brilliant things he did was kept the Kents around. And they were, I think they're a wonderful addition to the lore, and having them around is great. But I think what you miss when they are around is this fragile moment where Clark realizes, like, I can do all these things, but I can't stop the passage of time. I can't stop life. It's like, this is just the natural course of things. But I thought that was so interesting. And maybe somebody, if Mark Waid wants to come on and actually me, he is more than welcome to.
I don't think he would. I believe the Kents in the Silver Age, in the Superboy stories, I think they go on a tropical vacation and catch an island disease and die.
I wish they'd gone that route. I think that would have been way better. But this is all to say, like, that's something like crucial to Superman's lore that Donner brought to the lore. I think this entire film, of course, is like as influential as anything major in Superman's entire life, career, whatever. But I thought that was so moving when I learned that. But we don't get a lot of character development in terms of like tell us more about yourself, Superman. Like why do you do this? Like what
like I
motivates
think
you?
it's all there in the passage that Aaron
Yes,
read. I
exactly.
think we do get character development, but we get some shorthand that is solidified through performance.
Yes.
The only thing I would say that's weird about that whole scene is the voice of young Clark Kent.
Yeah, it is. And I mean, Christopher Reeve dubbed Jeff East,
Yeah.
the actor's voice.
It's a little awkward.
Jeff East did not know that apparently until he saw the film, and he was not happy, which
I
is
would be sad
understandable.
too.
Yeah.
I agree. I think for me personally, I mean, I love the entire film, of course, but I think the middle portion of the film is perfection. Like weirdly enough, I think from the moment Clark gets to Smallville and we have those scenes through the "Can you read my mind" sequence, this film is perfect. And if you want to start nitpicking things, it's on either side of that. But I think from the moment you get to Metropolis, the moment like we meet Clark as an adult, we meet Lois Lane, we meet Jimmy Olsen and Perry White, like everything is fantastic. And I am the first to say I agree with people who do not like the bumbling Lex Luthor, who do not love Otis and all the comic relief criminal stuff that's going on there. I am firmly in the camp of absolutely adoring it. And while I understand that it's silly and it's not a valid threat for our hero, I am just 100% on board with
I
these
love
bumbling jerks.
Hackman and Ned Beatty, and I can't remember the actor who plays
Valerie. What is it? Valerie Perini. I think?
She'll always just be
That's
Mrs.
it.
Tessmacher to me.
Yes.
Same. I love,
Perrine.
love them. I love the subway sequence. I love the cops
Yes.
who are chasing after Ned Beatty to like
Just a great introduction to a secret lair. Like come on.
It's so
How
good.
did he get this lair? Where did it come from? I don't
bought
care.
it, dude.
Doesn't matter.
I don't
care.
know.
Doesn't matter.
Real estate. I don't love the scene in which they rewire the missile.
Yeah.
Like
100%.
that's my
Not
least
needed.
favorite scene.
Not
in the
needed
whole
at all.
movie.
Yeah. That entire
And they do it
sequence is
twice.
yeah.
They do it twice.
I
I'm like,
love.
oh my god, it's so long.
I think they are great enough that I forgive it, but I agree.
Same.
It's like
Same.
if they're like, Shawn, pick moments to cut out of this.
Yeah.
I might keep the moment where Lex is, as they're driving away from the first missile, and Lex is like, it's not that I don't trust you, Otis, but I don't trust you. Yeah, that whole thing of like, would you like to see a very long arm? I love that I love their banter so much. However, that whole sequence is definitely like, okay, let's get on with it, please.
I might also take out because it's a funny scene, but it's awful. I might also take out the girl getting slapped by her mom.
Oh yeah,
because Superman's got that super hearing. He heard that.
With the cat in the tree.
The cat in the tree.
Okay,
which is a one like. Every time I try to explain to somebody why I love Superman, I use that scene as an example. It's like Superman saves the cat from the tree. He's that hero. He can do anything he wants.
I hear you.
But then he leaves her to get whacked.
He leaves her to get whacked. And I think it's
actually causes her to get whacked.
Okay, okay. This is coming from a guy without kids. All right. You don't understand what us parents are going through. Why don't you just shut up and let us
now I see what type of parent Aaron Prescott is. Let me call child services.
I laugh every time because it is so politically incorrect. It's very, very funny. It is completely unnecessary. And I think
but don't worry though, like that kind of humor is going to get amplified in the sequels in way worse ways.
Yes. So literal punchline to that scene. It's unfortunate, but I still laugh every time. I don't know what's wrong with me, but I do. What's funny is the film does kind of teeter on camp a lot of times. Like it's always just sort of like dancing on the edge of like it could go overboard. But I realized the one area that the one thing Donner never mocks, and I think it's the reason why the film never is overtly campy or too campy, is he never mocks Superman. There are jokes at like that are kind of like poking fun at the mythos, like the telephone booth, uh, things like that. Or lines like when he's like, "Oh no, thanks, I never drink when I fly," things like that. But like, it's never at the expense of Superman, really. In later films, it 100% is at the expense of Superman. But in this film, like the humor is kind of like we're laughing with the character as opposed to laughing at him. There's other stuff in the film where it's like, oh, we're totally supposed to be laughing at these people, like Otis. But Superman himself is never mocked, and I think that's so important because I think the second you start making fun of Superman is the second the movie would crumble. And Donner knew that you couldn't do that. Is there an example to the contrary? Like, am I wrong in this?
When the pimp says, "Say Jim, that's a bad outfit," I bought the suit 100%. Like,
Yeah.
Right. But
that's all I needed.
I think a lot of it has to do with Christopher Reeve's performance too, though. Like
100%.
the sincerity
we
of
talk
it.
about, yeah, we kind of see it like floating around like on the internet and stuff. But it's that transition scene that he shows like in real time where he takes the glasses off and you can see him thinking as Superman and kind of forgets, oh yeah, I got to put my character back on, and you see him like just kind of morph right in front of the camera of Clark Kent into Superman, and it's a thing of beauty. And I feel like it's like one of those acting classes things of like,
Yeah.
it's like watching Gollum and Smeagol have
Yes.
an argument together. It's like one of those great things.
It is one of those moments that you feel like this guy does not get enough credit for this
Yeah.
performance. And he did. I mean, I really think, unfortunately, this is an era where we were prone to typecasting. We're
Yeah.
still prone to typecasting, but I think we are, as a culture, more accepting of our actors being more than the characters they play.
Yeah.
Christopher Reeve was one of the prime examples of like a career that just fell on the wrong side of that and he was so glued to this character and so perfectly interpreted this character that filmmakers, audiences refused to see him as anything else. But what we miss in that examination and in that typecasting is like what a brilliant performance
Yeah.
it is. Once again, like Donner, I think an actor or a filmmaker with more of an ego or with more like just a sense of like, I don't know, like just arrogance could not have been in this role, could not have directed this film because like you have to give yourself over completely to the character and respect that character enough that there can't be ego to it. You have to just get inside that character. And I think it's a shame because Reeve is so talented and it's such a beautiful performance. I think it's unfortunate that because it's a superhero film and it's Superman that people are more prone to dismiss it as a result.
I think if Richard Donner had been allowed to stay on the franchise for at least one more film and like properly execute the second movie, it would have been extremely beneficial to Christopher Reeve.
Yes.
I think the people who take the helm after this film
it degrades so fast.
It degrades so fast and they steer Reeve in a bad place. Reeve would go and make other good movies. Like there are still things out there that I would recommend. Death Trap, Somewhere in Time. I actually really love his Rear Window, and that what's that film that he did right before his accident with Kim Cattrall, where he was playing the attorney who got paralyzed.
Oh, I can't remember, but I know what you're talking about.
Or something like that. Ooh, that's not it, but it's something.
It's something like that. Close enough.
Like he's a extremely watchable dude. He just never got the platform of 1978 Superman again.
Yeah,
I think given time without the accident that happened to him, I think we would have gotten that. I think he's a great enough talent that we would have gotten some great late stage Christopher Reeve performance out of him. It was just a travesty.
It's so interesting, and maybe it just is the superhero element to it because Superman is so larger than life. But it's like you look at someone like Sean Connery, who I think was also in danger of being typecast as James Bond, but managed to kind of wiggle his way out of that. And I think part of it was kind of what you're saying, Aaron. Like, he did reach that age where he was able to, like, all right, well, now I'm gonna play like Sean Connery old and Sean Connery as James Bond are completely different people. We think of them in completely different ways. And maybe with Christopher Reeve, it would have been the same thing if he'd had that chance. But you see, like, what's great is you also get these wonderful like television appearances where he would go on talk shows and, you know, just have these wonderful, thoughtful conversations, but also things like going on the Muppet Show and like displaying those comic sensibilities and being so wonderfully engaged and like goofing off and having fun. You do see those glimpses, and it's just like, it really was just like, it was just the way society and audiences treated our stars at the time. Like, you know, that the star system is really kind of obliterated in the 21st century. And I don't think Christopher Reeve would have had the same issues he had back then if we were in this position today, talking about this movie today.
Like, I look at the Star Wars guys too, right? You know,
Yeah.
how did Harrison Ford break out? One, probably maybe like talent has a lot to do with it.
For sure.
But like Harrison Ford had Star Wars, but then he had Indiana Jones, and then, you know, like, I think because Harrison Ford got that Indiana Jones, he was immediately seen as multiple types of hits. And so there was more hunger to put Harrison Ford in movies. If Christopher Reeve had like one other thing beyond Superman that had hit,
but I think like I said, I think he would have, but I think you're right. I think being locked into Superman alone, and the way especially 3 and 4 went, like, it really tainted like, as if it reflects who he is as a person.
Yeah.
And
Agreed.
It shouldn't have.
We've been talking about Superman the movie for I
It's
think
so
an
good,
hour.
guys.
It's the best. I mean, it really is. We have so many more movies to talk about. But is there anything like any moments in this film that like we just want to touch on? Like, we just want to say like, this deserves a shout out. This deserves a moment.
I think maybe my biggest issue with the movie is I am just not a fan of the ending of the time reversal thing. It feels so cheap, and it feels so. It's funny because I was listening to a podcast a week ago or so, and they were talking about Superman, and it was that person's favorite thing about the movie. So I understand like people have different flavors for what they like and what they don't like. It just does, that kind of stuff like just does not work for me. It's
Turning back time.
Yeah,
like,
yeah, because it was like it felt like, also because you're in film one, like it almost felt like, oh, why don't we just do this in every movie? You know, that's kind of where it set me. It was like, if this is the precedence for how we can end every movie, then we're good. All right, no reason to come watch them again.
It doesn't help that the Donner cut brought that ending back, because it was originally going to be the ending of Superman 2. I get that,
right? But that's the whole crux, and we can get into the end with Donner cut. If by watching the beginning of the Donner cut, it's saying that didn't happen, and that's where it was supposed to be in the original script. Was the time reversal was supposed to be at the end of 2 and not 1, and so that's what he's saying. And with that, I'm kind of like, I still don't like it, but I can appreciate it more here than I can there.
Yeah, I agree. What were you saying, Brad?
I just think that the last third is the weakest element of Superman the movie, but there's still enough in there that I enjoy. Like, I like the performances of Lex and Tessmacher and Otis. I love the kryptonite necklace scene. I think that's fantastic. I love how Lex Luthor tricks him into wearing it. I love how Miss Tessmacher forces Kal-El to make a promise to save her mom first, and he upholds that promise.
It has my favorite line, one of my favorite lines from the film, which is not a spoken line of dialogue, but it's her saying, "Lex, my mother lives in Hackensack." And when Hackman looks down at his watch and looks back up at her and shakes his head, it's one of the best moments.
The dismissal that Lex constantly directs to Miss Tessmacher is so horrible.
Yeah.
It's so much of that character, and it's so believable, and dudes like Lex Luthor. It's like, I just think Hackman excels in that performance.
He's superb.
And I think Valerie Perrine.
Perrine,
Say
yes.
Perrine is really, really good as Miss Tessmacher. And I think when she dives in and pulls him out, and then she goes for the kiss first because she's a bad girl. She knows she could never kiss that dude
Yeah.
without kryptonite around his neck. Like, that's a little creepy, but also I get it.
But she's so sweet about it too. Because he's like, why did you kiss me first? And I didn't think you let me later.
Yeah.
You know, like
And then he, like, what I don't like is then him like caressing her chin.
well, I think he's being like, you're a sweet girl. You know, I
Yeah,
don't think there's
I don't
anything
know.
romantic in it.
I don't love it.
I
Like
never took that as
I
a
would. I'm not
No,
saying. I'm
Brad's a
just
big
saying I
perv. Don't
don't
worry about
love
him.
it.
yeah. Brad doesn't
I
like
would remove
affection
it.
between human beings.
That's
He's-
not what. There's something else. there,
Brad does
dude.
not like this
There's
affection.
something else.
I
there.
well, I will say this. I think the film definitely loses something when we go into when we
Steam.
transition into the third act, where it's like, okay, now it's all about Lex Luthor's plan to get destroy California, and
But his monologue is so good. That
it's
scene
great.
with the map. Otisburg is one of the funniest things that
Oh,
happened
I
in
love
the entire
Otisburg.
movie.
Yeah, I agree with all of this. I think what happens is the movie trades character for spectacle. Like then it turns into like Superman has to stop the evil bad guy from the plan and da.
I just think the rocket is not interesting. The time reversal is not interesting, but everything around it, I like.
Yeah.
I love the thing that I love is the Earth. I love him chasing the rockets. I just love that sequence. It just becomes very impersonal, you know, like it's like it turns into like Superman has to stop this and he has to stop this and he has to stop this. But I love the heroics of it. I love him saving the train. I love him saving the school bus. I love him like saving the little model town from the dam bursting. I love all of that. And I really, really love the turning back time. I don't love it as a power, as like oh well, Superman can literally travel through time and stop anything. But I love it
He's
as
got a lot of powers.
yes. What I do love it as, and why I made peace with it, is because as a conclusion to his and Lois's relationship, this entire movie, it's been like, you can't affect human history, you can't do this, you can't do that, like you have to use your powers for good. He breaks the rules of his fathers to save the woman he loves. So from that standpoint, I'm okay with him turning back the world just to save Lois Lane. I don't think it's perfect. I do think it gets messy.
Saving Jimmy in the process.
Yes, saving Jimmy in the
His side
process.
piece.
Yes, exactly. I think a lot of the flaws of the film ultimately come from just the reality of the production. It was a compromised production. It was something where like Donner constantly had producers breathing down his neck trying to like get him canned. It was a stressful production that was going over budget. It was going over schedule. Donner never knew what the budget was. Donner never knew what the schedule was, but he was constantly being informed that he was over budget and over schedule. It was a stressful production, and I think the haphazard nature of the finale and putting the turn back time sequence at the end of the movie can kind of be pointed to that. Like, I don't want to make excuses and be like, it's okay because the production was compromised. I still think it's a miracle the film works as well as it does when you start to dig into the production history and start to learn more about the production. The fact that the film stands on its own, even with that kind of iffy ending, is crazy to me.
Agreed.
And
Agreed.
I love all of that. All right. We have so much more Superman to talk about.
Oh
How
my
do
God.
we feel on a scale from 1 to 5? Otisbergs, how many Otisbergs would you give Superman the movie, Brad?
I think I gotta go 5. I do think there are elements that if I was making it today, I would change. But as a 1978 adaptation of the Superman concept, it's pretty perfect.
Aaron, how about you?
I'm there. There are parts that like I have an issue with the final third, I think especially, but the for me the first 45 minutes are absolute perfection, and just the introduction character. We didn't even talk about John Williams' score.
Good
which
Lord.
is
I mentioned
insane.
it briefly.
It was a
I mentioned
brief.
it briefly.
That was a brief mention. I think you said Johnny W or something.
Yeah, well, we didn't talk about
barely.
Mark McClure yet either.
We can skip
And
Mark
he's
McClure.
a perfect
We can-
Jimmy Olsen.
We talked about saving the side piece on the bridge. Okay,
I did.
or the
I had to
dam.
get that in.
But I mean, what an absolute another when you're talking about John Williams' scores, and if you just talk about one of them, you're like, oh, that's an all-time piece, and then you think this is like his 10th one that you can hum from any moment of your life, and Superman is just another one of those where it's like I kind of feel like Bill Murray, the lounge singer. You can sing Star Wars, but this one's Superman. You can hear Superman in the notes. It's just wild.
It's one of the
It's
best
so good
scores.
that sequels rarely choose to leave it behind.
Yeah,
they should. The thing is, they can't leave it behind. But also, even when they attempt it still doesn't sound the same when Williams isn't behind it, which is insane.
I like what Hans Zimmer does in Man of Steel. Just
exactly. I'm gonna give it a really solid 4 stars.
All right, and 5 for me. Movie, yes, 5 Otis Birds.
To me, I think Aaron is right. Like, I would give it 4, but I know that the 5th star is nostalgia. So I think it's a 4-star movie with the 5th star nostalgia. It's a perfect film. There you go.
Just give it the 5. Just let it be. Let it be a 5, Brad. You don't have to put any asterisk next to it. It's okay. All right, moving on to Superman 2. Couple years later, this was shot back-to-back with Superman 1, intended to be directed by Donner, intended to be released the next year. They had to shut down production because the film was going so crazy over budget and schedule. They had to stop filming Superman 2. 75% of it was filmed, I think is what they said.
They had to shut down Houston to film in Houston because it's nuts. They needed those streets.
Yes. Planet Houston. They shut down the Planet Houston. But they decided, let's just put every bit of energy and money we have into finishing Superman 1 and let's get it out. Let's release it. They released it. It was a smash hit, hugely successful. So of course the Salkinds said, great. So we're going to fire Donner and we're going to get rid of Brando because we don't want to pay him and we don't want to work with Donner anymore.
I think Brando was suing them at the time.
Yes.
So I
think everybody was suing the Salkinds.
Yeah, that is all true. I think that's the thing that we're going to kind of come to are the Salkinds are just assholes. And the only reason that, the detrimental stuff that happens to this franchise is due to them and their inability to understand who needs to be put in charge of what and to who to rely on, who to trust, who to whatever. Because
get that Beatles guy.
Get that Beatles guy. All right, let's just go into it. I mean, the only reason Richard Lester wants so bad to be a comedic director, so bad, it's painful how many these sight gags and stuff that he forces into it. The only reason A Hard Day's Night is any good is because he had 4 genuinely comedic and charismatic guys with funny haircuts for 90 minutes
who were genuinely funny.
Genuinely funny. And Richard Lester is not funny, and it shows so hard in this movie. The only parts of this movie that actually work are the parts that Lester either was able to use the Donner stuff or had to reshoot, and it was exact template. He already had the template from Donner of what to shoot and the storyline and everything that's put in there that he put in there by himself for just another giggle from him and I don't know, his wife or something. I don't know who he thought it was funny. It's very cringy and just does not work at all. And I have such a issue with it. It's funny because I love this movie as a kid. When you kind of understand the context of it, it makes for a compelling, just history lesson.
It's one of the most compelling behind the scenes.
So good.
Film.
So
good. It really is. From a
podcasting standpoint, are we going to talk at both at the same time? Are we going to talk Donner and Lester at the
I think we should.
time?
I think we could do that. I completely agree. I think, Superman 2's success, why it works is because of the material that existed that you couldn't change. Donner and Mankiewicz's influence with the amount of time and the amount of resources, the Salkinds are not going to pay for anything else. They're like, let's just work with what we have and we'll reshoot all this stuff. But they ended up having to work with what had already been established, and the tone that Donner and Mankiewicz had created for Superman 1 carries over into Superman 2. I think Lester, for the most part, he does keep in tone with Superman 1 this time around. Because, I mean, a good chunk of the film was reshot. There are terrible, like, gags that you can tell. Having seen Superman 3, it's like, oh, yeah, this is Lester for sure. There are things like the police officers and their conversations that make no
I
sense.
cannot eat red beans.
Yeah, I come out in a rash if I eat beans. And
oh
like,
my God.
like
those
things...
guys, so funny. You're saying that Lester is not a comedian? Clearly you're mistaken. Because all the comedy used to works.
But like, you also have, to Lester's credit, you also have like, I really like the Paris opening. Honestly, I think
I do
fun.
too.
I really
I feel like I got to come in here. Like Aaron came in so hard against.
I came in real hot.
Too.
I feel kind of bad.
It's fair though. It's fair.
I feel like I did. I feel like I did.
It's a huge downgrade.
Yes,
this is such a colossal tumble from the first movie. I think what works in the movie are sequences between Lois and Clark, because the performances and the chemistry between Margot Kidder and Christopher Reeve. I think the stuff at Niagara Falls is fun. I think the terrorist Eiffel Tower sequence is fun. I think Zod and Ursa and Non chewing scenery and being cartoon villains,
they're the best.
Fun.
Terrence Stamp, I mean, they're all great, but Terrence Stamp is on like another level.
Yeah.
But the moment Clark Kent agrees to remove his powers, I hate the film so much.
Well, I love it in concept, and ultimately, like, Spider-Man 2 would perfect that story, like the superhero who gives. Oh, shush, Spider-Man.
They're like Peter Parker and Clark Kent are two totally different characters.
Okay.
Sure.
I thought you were saying no, not Spider-Man 2. I think Spider-Man 2.
Fine.
Spider-Man 2 took this concept and perfected it. Superman 2 is deeply flawed in the way it kind of decides to go that route. I think it's fair to go down the route of Superman wants to be with Lois and has to give up he has to become human to be with her. I'm okay with that. What I'm not okay with is...
You got to consent that with Lois, though. He doesn't even ask Lois if that's what she wants. Clearly she don't.
There's iffy stuff about it. Like, it's not well executed.
Dude, he's such a bro about it. He's just like, I know I'm going to solve this. I'm going to take my powers away. Girl, we're going to live happily ever after. And she's like, you're different.
Yeah, she's like, hold on a second. Where it falls apart for me is the fact that, like, logistically, it just stops making sense completely. It's like, okay, you're getting rid of your powers. You are in the middle of the Arctic in this fortress. Like, what are you doing? How is this working? They get a car and they drive to a diner from the Fortress of Solitude. And then...
where is that diner located?
Where is the diner?
Alaska.
Where is the diner?
Where do you want it to be? What do you mean?
Where is it? And then within what feels like hours after
it's like within walking distance, like of the Fortress of Solitude,
right? Well, within hours of giving up his powers and banging Lois Lane, he runs into a snag with a gentleman who is not quite a gentleman.
The second he sees his own blood, he's like, the man you fell in love with.
I've made a
dead.
terrible mistake.
Yes,
He just
made a terrible mistake. And then it's like, Zod, of course, on the television. And it's just like, how was Superman so disconnected from the world that Zod was able to take over the country? And it's like all of this happens within what feels like less than 24 hours. And within less than 24 hours, Clark loses his powers and then's like, I got to go back and get my powers back.
Listen.
It just happens so quickly.
Women make you do crazy things, all right? That's all.
It all happens so quickly that it's like, whatever impact could have been there emotionally it just doesn't work. It just like
But
plot wise, the questions start to add up too much to the point where I'm like, I don't know how I feel
agreed,
about this.
agreed. Here's where I will defend it, and it's only from the Donner cut, because I think the Donner cut handles this issue way better than the Lester cut. Because Lester cut, I mean, he like all of a sudden just like transforms into a button down shirt, and he's now one of us normie guys, and then he goes to bed with Lois Lane.
I do like
In
the
the
really
Donner,
super trippy montage of like cartoon sketches of his muscle structure and skeleton, like very 80s, very
yeah,
cheesy, him losing his power effects. I just
Straight
want to
up
put that out there.
terrifying as a child.
Yes,
that's true.
that
That is
too.
true.
Yep.
But with the Donner cut, how it handles it, it takes it into a much more of a, so it's twofold, because the Salkinds, again being assholes, booted Donner. They don't get Brando, and with not having Brando, they don't have the relationship between, in the first one we had more of the relationship between Pa Kent and Clark, and now in this one we have more relationship with Jor-El and Kal-El. And there's like this sacrifice when you hear that voiceover in the Lester cut. It doesn't make as much sense when he says the son becomes the father and the father becomes the son.
Right.
You don't understand what that truly means. But then when you see in this cut where that the green Kryptonian stone glows one more time, and he's saying, I'm giving the last of my powers to give back to you. You
I don't
won't
even
see
think
me
there
ever
is
again.
a like the Kryptonian green crystal is
Mhm.
not
Not
in the Donner
present.
cut. It's
No.
just Jor-El's
No. It is.
ghost.
It
No,
glows.
and there's no Jor-El's ghost. It's his mom.
No. I'm
Yeah,
saying
in the
in
Lester
the
cut.
Donner in the Lester
Yeah, in the
cut,
Lester
it's the
cut.
green crystal that gives him his powers back. In the Donner cut, there is no green crystal that gives him his powers. It's just
Uh,
Jor-El ghost.
I think the green crystal glows within like the burnt ashes of the other crystals, and he
Oh,
picks it up
you
and
might be right actually.
and
Yeah.
and and, and
I
he
swear
puts
I
it in
just
there.
watched this.
It's okay. It's okay. Lots of crystals and ghost dads coming out of nowhere. But the main part is that because he can have that relationship with Jor-El, and that back and forth, that feels like it was at least warranted to tell this story.
Yeah,
Not having
there's
that,
a
and
payoff.
it does nothing. It's like why are we doing this? Just because there's no payoff at the end that allows for any sort of emotional arc for him to have given this life up for nothing, because he can still be with Lois. Like, who cares? He's Superman. I don't know.
What must have been so heartbreaking, I think, for Donner, because Donner he was such a jovial, like, and so he was just based on the people who knew him, what I've read about him, the interviews I've read of him, the footage I've seen of him, and my
Look,
own
we know
experience
we know
meeting
you guys
him.
were friends. It's okay.
We were
We get it.
besties. So, but like, he was such a loving, jovial, delightful person. But I think it really, really hurt him getting fired from Superman, to the point where when they were doing the Donner cut, he couldn't. The guy who really took charge of that creative project, I don't remember the gentleman's name. Like, Donner gave his seal of approval and like watched and like approved certain things, but he wasn't as creatively involved as this other gentleman. But like, Donner had to like
Oh, it
leave
was
the
one of his
room.
editors.
Yeah, like Donner had to leave the room at points because he remembered it was too personal for him. It still hurt him, like, to sit and watch the Lester stuff. And what I realize is, like, watching Superman 2 now, like, it's like the meaty character stuff of these two films, like Superman
Mhm.
1 works better ultimately, but Superman 2 kind of like strips down and like really gets into some character stuff with Clark and Lois, and like there's a lot of
But it's
fun stuff.
bad.
I mean, like, the stuff is bad ultimately
In his
in
in
the
his
in
in
the
the Lester
Lester
version,
cut,
yes.
and even like the Donner cut is, I don't see the Donner cut as a film. Like, I
No.
couldn't recommend it as a
Does the
standalone
Diner
film.
like, I did not go back and watch the Donner cut. I saw the Donner cut the last time we screened it at the Alamo.
Yes.
with you there, Sean.
Yep.
And I think the Donner Cut is an interesting artifact, but it still
Mhm.
doesn't quite work for me as a movie.
Agreed.
In the Donner Cut, is the diner a sequence there?
Yes.
And
Yeah.
does he still go back and
Yes.
like
Yep.
spin the dude on the stool?
Yes. Yep.
Yes.
That's trash. I hate all that.
Oh, I
Agreed.
love all of that. I love
That
all
is
of
the
it.
birth of
No,
Zack
do you want to
Snyder's Superman. That
do
is
you want to know why it's even worse? Why it's even worse is because by the end of the Donner Cut, so he took the original ending from 1, said that didn't happen. We put into 2 because the nuke flies out because how did in the Phantom Zone they escape from Lester Cut? They escape because the bomb gets thrown out
Yeah, the
from
Paris
the
the
elevator from Paris,
Yep.
which didn't happen in Donner. And the Donner Cut, it's from the bomb, the nuke that he threw out in number 1,
Exactly.
and then they escape and blah blah blah. So that's how he intended for that to go because he put the time reversal at the
Yeah.
end of 2. So what just happenned?
Clark's
Nothing
just
happened at
bullying
all.
this stranger.
Clark just came and beat up some dude, and he doesn't know why he's getting beat up.
Yes.
Like, it's just the
So,
wildest.
here's why
that,
it's
like-
okay. Here's why it's okay for me.
Tell me.
Because
Please
the
tell me.
guy, if it had been something personal where like this guy just had beef with Clark, it would have been petty. But this guy's a huge douchebag and treats everyone in that bar like
We don't know that.
miserably.
But that's
and
not
he's a
what's
jerk.
happening, though.
Superman
know
comes
that.
It
back
is a straight
and teaches.
We
He
don't know
doesn't
that.
beat the guy up. He teaches him a lesson, and he just
He
throws
does
him into a
beat the guy
pinball
up.
machine.
No.
No,
We
he's
don't know
okay.
No,
And then he pays for the
no.
damage.
Not that
It is
pinball
the
machine.
most toxic masculine bullshit.
He
and
takes
it's like-
care of the toxic masculine
No.
BS guy.
Superman is the toxic masculine bullshitter in this. That's what I'm saying. He comes back because he's like, look, I experienced weakness. That's the worst thing that could ever happen to a person. But now I'm strong again, and I can use my strength to teach people how to behave. That's not Superman.
That guy
Right?
is
And you know what
terrorizing.
else?
He's terrorizing everyone who works there and the other patrons.
But that's not why
And
Superman comes
came
back.
and
That
taught
is
him a
not
lesson.
why. That
But
is
do you
not
know
why
what
he
else
comes back.
Brad and I? Do you know what else Brad and I really miss? That did make it to the Donner Cut, throwing that plastic S shield onto Nog or whatever his name
There are
is,
none.
and
There are touches.
the multi Superman trick. Those are great. We don't
those
get that
are
enough in the
things-
comics of just throwing random ass powers onto Superman for no reason.
Superman 2 and especially Superman 3 are very Silver Age.
Yes, there are things like people really mock. I mean, and for good reason. The cellophane S, the weird powers that come out of nowhere. In the context of the Superman films, yeah, it's like what is happening in the scene. But we have to remember, in the comic books, literally almost every issue, it's like, oh, suddenly Superman has this power and that power. So it is in line with like the comic book.
Yeah,
don't
I have
believe
no
you.
problem with any of that.
I don't believe you. I don't believe either
think
one of
it's-
you.
I think it's
No, I don't believe you.
I think it's more fun. It's a more fun climax to the film than the Donner Cut, which is just
I
kind of like
agree.
is it wacky? Yeah. Is it dumb? Yes. But
Yeah.
I kind of like the cartoony stupidity of that finale more than kind of like the more grim, serious
Yes.
Donner version. But again, like
You guys enjoy
done-
the super amnesia kiss, and so Lois can forget.
No, I
Superman.
that I
enjoy
don't
that.
agree
No,
with.
no, no,
That
you
is
love that because
rapey
that's
and
the lesser cut.
disgusting.
No, you love that because you're also like, hey, can we bring this back for Superman 4? Please,
No,
please,
no,
please.
no,
I don't like it
no.
at all. I do love that scene. That's a scene that is the Lester version. That is wonderful.
Do you know what else is wild? In the Donner Cut, he destroys the Fortress of Solitude. He lasers it,
Yeah.
and then does the around the world thing. So it's back. Like there's
Right?
zero.
It
Like
doesn't make sense.
Where are we?
The
what are we
Donner
doing?
Cut is. I agree. I think the Donner Cut is great to have. I'm glad it exists, but it is not a. It is not a like now we have the real version of Superman.
And I don't
2.
go back and watch that. Like if I'm like going to watch the
No.
franchise for fun, which is what I did for this
Heck yeah.
preparation for this podcast, I watched the theatrical.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. The theatrical is the real film. It is a real film. It made it through production. It made it through post production. Yes, it has its flaws, and yes, there are things about the Donner Cut that I prefer. But Donner Cut is like a work print. It's an experiment.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
fun to watch as a supplemental piece of this history, but ultimately the theatrical Superman 2 works better. And I think a lot of why it works better, the Donner cut takes out a lot of the relationship stuff, that Lois and Clark, their fun banter at Niagara Falls, like, and that final sequence, as much as I hate the super amnesia kiss, I love Margot's performance in that last scene.
I think they're good performances. It's just creepy as hell.
It's creepy. Well, yeah, the kiss is creepy, but I think her performance
the kiss was
very
consensual.
good. And I think that Lester gave into his worst impulses when it came to Superman 3, but like that was a Lester directed scene, like, you know,
Yeah.
and it's an emotional, grounded human scene in this big superhero movie. It's one of the most human scenes in the entire franchise, and it's beautifully acted. I give Lester a lot of credit for that. I think he probably would have chosen not to include it if he didn't have to. But
here's one thing that I think that you can like see which sort of variation that you would have liked the final product of is the revelation of Superman to Lois Lane, of, you know, the identity of Superman, because in the Lester cut they're in like the honeymoon suite, right? And he trips over the bearskin rug and then falls into the fire, right? And you know, and then reveals, oh, he didn't burn himself, and then she's like, you are, you know, that kind of thing. And you're kind of like, he only plays a goofball when he's acting like he's Clark.
Yeah.
So he's not in real life going to trip over that rug and reveal himself.
And she calls him
that
on
way.
that in
And
the
she
theatrical cut.
Does
he
what?
He wanted it, like, I think he wanted.
Yeah,
it
and
to happen.
that's stupid. That's stupid. And in the Donner cut, I think they used like some test footage or something.
It was a screen test,
right? And where she tricks him into revealing himself as Superman, because she pulls out a gun, shoots him, and then he's like, hey, you know, yes, I'm Superman. That would have hurt, you know, Clark Kent if you were wrong. Yeah. And she's like, oh, I was firing blanks. That's clever. That's, you know, there's something interesting about storytelling, as opposed to like just doing something for a laugh because, oh, this goofball tripped over a bearskin rug.
I think that's a fun scene, but I think this is a moment where Lester's version is superior, because I think that sequence...
it's only superior because the other one is a screen test.
Well, it's not that. It's no. It's not that. It's not that. One, like, Superman would have felt a bullet. Like, for him to be like, "Oh, yes, you shot me," and not recognizing it's a blank.
Game, Shawn, there's a lot of things that Superman could have done.
I'm gonna play that game here for a second. So,
I'm gonna dismiss it.
I think it's funny when you don't know.
I'm going mute.
I think it's funny when you don't know it's a blank, and then when you know it's a blank, it's like, well, wait a second, I don't know.
You can't feel those things. You can't feel it.
And also, Lois, then, like, the whole thing is her. Yeah, it's fun for her to be smart. It loses the tenderness. It loses the tenderness. There is no tenderness.
It is creepy.
In the scene, in
Clark Kent's
in
like,
Lester's,
your personhood doesn't even matter. I am going to force what I want to happen in this scene.
What are you talking about?
With him,
Lester, in the Lester version, she figures it out. And I don't love him tripping over the thing, but I love their interaction and them talking to each other and that tender moment. And in the Donner version, it's played as a laugh, and then there's no tenderness to it. So I don't love the Donner cut version.
What?
I like it as a fun scene, but I don't like it as like an emotional beat where it's like
I think they
this
both
is a big
suck.
discovery. Wait a second. You were just saying you love the
No, I'm
scene.
saying I prefer the bullet scene to the scene that's in the honeymoon where he trips purposefully so he can finally go like, oh, I've been wanting to reveal myself this entire time.
No.
And then he makes their entire relationship about his feelings.
I don't think it was a purposeful trip. I think she's like, I don't think you meant to, because he's like, I don't think I did. And she's like, maybe you didn't mean to with your mind, but you meant to with your heart.
He definitely did.
He did not do it.
He
on
meant
purpose.
it with his heart on.
And then it's like, then it raises the question of like, wait, Superman tripped over a pink like it's stupid. I agree, but I don't think it was like him taking charge and like, this is how I'm going to reveal myself.
And he's like, I'm going to take you to the Fortress of Solitude. I'm going to make you some souffle that's not going to rise. Look at that dish. And then I'm just going to force what I want to happen.
Yes, I think all of that is problematic and weird. yeah, Superman 2 is just, it's not as good as the first one. And I think everyone agrees. I think it doesn't hold up. It's cheap. It looks cheaper. Lester's aesthetic. Lester was really dismissive about the way he shot it. He was like, well, it's a comic book, so I want everything to look flat like the comic book panels do. He was kind of condescending about the work of Richard Donner and Jeffrey Unsworth, one of the greatest cinematographers of all time. He's like, oh, I didn't really want that David Lean cinematic look. I just wanted it to look more like a comic book. And it looks flat. The cinematography is not as dynamic. There are sequences where it looks like a B movie made for TV. It looks cheaper. The effects are not as good. Like, it definitely shows its age in a way that Superman 78 does not. However, I still think enough works about Superman 2 that I'm not like, oh, it's terrible. Like, I think there are things I like about it. I think Terrence Stamp is a lot of what I love about this movie.
Yeah,
agreed.
I think the villains are fantastic. I really wish, as we all do, that Donner had gotten to make the movie, because it would have been much better. Maybe it wouldn't have been perfect. Maybe it would have had its problems. The Donner cut certainly has its fair share of problems, but it's also not fair to judge Donner's vision from an incomplete kind of work print experimental version.
Yeah, I agree. Like, that's why I don't like having the conversation of like, oh, let's compare the Donner cut to the Superman 2 cut, because the Donner cut was assembled so long after the events of everything going down, and it really wasn't assembled by Richard Donner.
No,
You
exactly.
know, like,
and it's like it was made with his
it's an
blessing,
artifact.
but
It's a special feature. It's
Exactly.
not a movie.
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
weird. When I went back and made my rankings, I did add it to my rankings, but I felt kind of weird about it. I was like, I
Yeah.
don't see it as a movie, really.
Yeah.
James Gunn was asked on Twitter, like, somebody was like, other than the Donner film, what's your favorite Superman movie? Mine's the Donner cut of Superman 2, is what this person said. Which was just, that feels like a weird flex to me. It's not like you're not a cool cinephile because you think the Donner cut is the best Superman
Have
movie
you seen
ever.
the Abyss director's cut?
Right,
Like, get
exactly.
out of here.
Yeah, exactly. So James Gunn came back and he's like, I really enjoyed the theatrical cut of Superman 2, was his response. And I'm like, once again, James, you and we're going to be great friends when we work together on writing your Superman sequel. But yeah, Superman 2, deeply flawed film in whatever version you're watching it. The theatrical version is the better version because it's a complete movie. I don't love it, but I don't hate it either. I think there's a lot of good stuff in here, and a lot of that comes from the momentum of the first Superman film. Everyone is still great. Acting is still great. I hate the Lester like goofball stuff with the cops, and like the Metropolis battle is great, except for the stupid citizens and the whole slapstick sequence of them
Getting blown away.
like getting blown away, and all that stuff is dumb.
I like that.
Yeah, I know you do. I know
You would.
do.
You would.
But that's it. Superman 2. Is that all we have to say?
Did you know that Ursa's voice was dubbed over?
No,
And do you know who dubbed over it?
I have no idea.
Annie Ross, who is Vera, the sister in Superman 3.
Wow, interesting. I did
Right?
not know that.
Yeah.
I did not know that at all.
Thought that was interesting.
How many cellophane S's would you give Superman 2, Brad?
2.5.
Aaron?
I love that. I was ragging on it the whole time. I'm gonna give it 3 solid Superman.
I'll give it. I'm toss up between 3 and 3.5.
I think it's bad. I
I'll
think it's bad.
I don't think it's bad.
I think it's bad.
But it's definitely not.
Yeah,
as
I think
good.
it's like a 2.5 movie, but where Brad gave that extra star,
Yeah,
star and a half,
fair.
For nostalgia, I'm giving it to my nostalgia, because this was such a nostalgia pick for me. I do love seeing Zod traipse around the White House and calling out Superman, and the New York fight scene. Like, that's just like something like you want to see. And what movie was doing it up until that point? And it was done fairly decently.
Yeah. 3.5. It's
Yeah.
not a bad movie, Brad. But
Okay,
speaking
sure.
of bad movies, let's talk about Superman 3.
Here comes the hot take. Better than 2.
Shut
Boom!
up! I'm
my
done.
God.
I'm done.
Shut
Yeah,
up.
no,
This is
it is
okay,
better
wrap it
than
up.
the
2.
end of the Franchyze
Shut up.
Boiz.
No,
Let's
it's
go.
better than 2. And you know
There's
what? The
no way.
opening credits,
It
where
is
it goes
awful.
full Final Destination with this
Don't.
Rube Goldberg sequence,
Don't.
is so fun.
They
I'm
couldn't
It's
so
even
so
over
figure
fun,
it.
out.
y'all.
They
I'm
could
so
not
over him.
even figure out how
Let's
to
see.
make the opening credits not blurry
I'm
for
making a
no
Craigslist.
reason.
Love
Over
this.
Craigslist.
the bottom
do people
half
still
of
do
the
Craigslist
frame.
post? I'm gonna do a Craigslist post for new Franchyze Boiz member.
Yeah, let's put it on Craigslist.
Uh,
Yeah, Superman 3 is a weird movie. It
Weird is
is
bad.
also directed by Richard Lester. But what's great about the existence of Superman 3 is that it proves beyond a shadow of a doubt that Donner is the reason Superman worked. You
Yeah,
know?
but I like to see Richard Lester now like take the wheel and do his Superman. It's not what anybody wanted, but it opens like a Muppet movie.
Not
it-
even. It opens like a weird 80s Richard Pryor movie because it's him in the unemployment line.
No, and eventually we get to yeah. No, I'm talking just
You
the
talking about
straight
the
up the credit
credits? The
sequence.
credit
I'm
sequence?
still at the credit sequence, my friend.
Oh boy.
And then it is a Richard Pryor movie, but then also the Smallville sequence in Superman 3, all the stuff with Annette O'Toole
Yes.
is better than anything in Superman 2.
I
And
don't agree
the
with
evil-
that, but
I just want you to shut up for a second. And then the evil Superman stuff is perfection and acted so well. And the villain stuff is scary and weird and terrible, but really, really scary. And just for that middle sequence alone, I adore Superman 3.
I will give you this because it does set up like I didn't think this when I first watched it, but then I was giving it a rewatch and I was just like, the setup of one of the like all time greatest true ultra like super villains of all time, and his name is Brad, and that
Yes.
just kind of filled
And
my
it's a
soul.
callback to that dickhead
Oh.
from the first movie.
Yes.
It was so good because as we know, all Brads are just worthless
jerks. Just
and
jerks. Don't know what they're
and
talking
just
about.
We
don't
just
yeah
keep
just
talking about our high school good old days on the team, drinking beer, working at the security.
I love the Lana Lang.
he wears
stuff
off-brand
in the movie.
Adidas.
Lana Lang Smallville is off-brand Adidas. I love the Lana Lang stuff. Annette O'Toole is wonderful. It gives us a new, fresh angle on Clark, on the character, and I really don't like much else in the movie other than like the weirdness of Richard Pryor.
Yeah,
The weirdness of supercomputer.
Yeah,
He's an
supercomputer.
accidental hacktivist. Are you like serious?
Yeah.
Like this
computers
is our,
are evil.
This is our
we shouldn't
villain?
have them in the office.
No. But I like, yes, Christopher Reeve is great as evil Superman, but evil Superman is just as dumb as like,
but it's so
evil
well
Peter
acted.
Parker, and
It
is.
There's nothing in 2 that is as compelling as this sequence
like,
in 3. And when he chokes himself out, that is one of the most upsetting sequences in any Superman movie.
It is. Yes.
This is the one time I wish Big Tobacco would have stepped in and helped out with the movie, because just saying that like Superman was tainted by the evils of cigarettes by including tar into the unknown kryptonite chemical. It just made me want to.
But I love that though. I love that like Richard
object.
Pryor's just like, well, I got to fill in something.
Yeah,
Just
right.
throw in a little
Tar.
And then what does he do? He creates evil Superman as a result.
The boozing, grumpy super. The thing is, it's like, the first thing evil Superman does, it's like, this is really establishing just how evil this character is he straightens the Leaning Tower of Pisa, which is like,
yeah, and he's ruining that dude's life.
Ruined
that
his life.
Italian tourist statue salesman.
It's the problem of like, Lester's making this movie, so it's like an evil Superman
dude, that
is gonna
scene
be
right there is no different than the kid getting slapped in One. It's like, I'm gonna go do a thing, and never mind that it's actually ruining this other guy's life.
I just like.
I was just gonna say, like, we get to like our first, like, after the credit, we'll call it a credit action sequence because it was just a bunch of people falling around and looking like mimes and clowns and whatnot. The first big action sequence is at this like chemical plant right near Smallville.
Also great.
Sure, it's great because there's a room full of chemicals that can't reach, I don't know, 200 degrees or something. There's a fire behind them. I wish there was somebody who could blow out that fire, but no, he has to go to a freaking lake, freeze that with the
Don't you
same
think if you're
breath,
Superman and
freeze
you
that
have
lake
all
with the
these
same
powers,
breath,
you got to mix it up?
mix
You
it up.
know,
Oh boy,
you
boy.
gotta find new ways to save people.
Yeah, I really gotta shake things up and risk lives while we're at it. You gotta be kidding me.
I'm glad that like Jimmy got to do a little bit more in this movie though. Like he got, he hurt his leg.
I
It was
also
fun.
really like Pamela Stevenson
Yeah,
as
she's there.
Lorelai. I think she's fantastic.
She is great, but it
Yeah.
is such a stupid like, oh, she's a bimbo, but she's actually really smart. It would have been more fun if she was the main villain instead of this like Lex Luthor.
I mean, sure, but it's a
knockoff.
great performance. I think she's really good in the role. I think Robert Vaughn is a perfect Donald Trump. I think Annie
He's
Ross.
just a Lex Luthor stand-in. I mean, it just
He's a Lex
that's-
Luthor
that's-
stand-in.
I think that's the thing that pissed me off the
elevated to the
most.
Wall Street businessman thing.
Sure.
It's a little bit of a different flavor. The dials turned a little differently.
Oh, is that it? I thought there was
Yeah.
more.
that's all he had. He didn't have any
That's all
other
he's
ammo.
got. That's all he's got.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
Robert
like,
Vaughn. Robert Vaughn's awesome.
Robert Vaughn
Yeah.
is awesome, and it's not his fault that it's just like the blandest, worst villain. Like I
don't
just
know.
like I don't like him. I
I
don't
know.
like his sister. Like I just like
She's so scary, dude. She
she
comes
is
up with a
scary.
robot.
Well,
When she
becomes
turns
the
into Robo
robot,
her,
yes.
that was nightmare inducing.
Yes,
Absolutely.
it absolutely is. But like it's just like it is a strange movie with this
And
like
that
very,
makes it interesting.
it does make it
Superman
interesting.
2
but
is like, bleh.
but-
It's such a drop off of one. All you can think about is how not good Superman 2 is. Superman 3, obviously it was trash at the time. We can
it
all
still is
say
trash.
It's very no, it is not enhanced. It hasn't like fermented into a fine wine.
No,
it is just
I think
become
once
soil.
you get over its garbageness, there is some diamonds in there. It's a lump of coal that if you squeeze it real tight with your imagination, because you're an adult man with the superpower brain, you can find good things in it.
I think. Well, I don't think you have to look that hard as far as the Smallville stuff goes. Like,
It's great.
I think Annette O'Toole is great. I like Lana Lang a lot, and I do think there is some wacky weirdness to it. That's
And
like,
you know who's
like
funny? Richard Pryor. Does he belong in this movie?
No, he's not.
No.
Oh,
Yeah,
he's
I think
great.
in this.
No, he's
Richard,
great in
I
it.
like.
Richard Pryor is
Get the
great.
hell
He
outta
is
here.
not great in this. He is not great in this.
No, he's good.
He's also
his
like,
character is terrible. The writing around it is awful. He's
Yes.
Richard
What?
Pryor is fine in the role.
There's not
It's just
a funny
moment in
it's
this
a
movie.
It's a badly executed
Give me one funny
role.
Richard Pryor line we can recite, please.
The entire sequence in which he tells the billionaire and his sister what Superman did while he's wearing the cape, that's
before
gold.
he skis off the
Is
rooftop.
Gold.
No.
Gold.
No.
Gold.
Richard Pryor, who I don't know. When you put Richard Pryor in the movie, it's like, oh well, of course it's going to be a comedy. And I think Richard Pryor was hoping for the opposite. I think he was like, no,
He did. He wanted this to be like his
transition
big kind of
to
transition role to something serious.
Exactly. And I think Richard Pryor is just like hamstrung by the reality that he's Richard Pryor and the filmmakers know
I'm not
he's
saying
Richard Pryor.
it's genius.
So
I'm just saying it's interesting.
To Brad Gullickson,
defending this
interesting
real
and
hard.
genius are
It's
basically
oddly
the same
compelling.
thing. Oddly compelling, interesting, genius. They're all the same thing when you're saying that.
No.
Listen, the audacity that this movie has to go beyond 90 minutes is something that we need to talk about in history.
I agree. I'm just saying it's better than 2.
No way.
I don't think so. It's just
How are you
the reason it's not is because it's so snide. Like Lester hates Superman, and he has nothing but contempt for like Superman.
I don't think that's
superheroes.
true. I think he has a different philosophy on approaching the story than Richard Donner did.
He thinks they're stupid. He thinks superheroes are worthless.
No, he thinks it's a lark. He's having a lark. And
nobody else is having a lark.
He's
the only one. It's an audience of one. It's just Richard Lester.
Yes. I agree.
Who is that good for?
It's not
me.
good for anybody.
Not you.
What I'm
That's
saying
the problem.
It is a fascinating movie with some real. I think there are moments in it that are like legit, just great.
Please, in one, name
No,
one that is.
I think I've already told you the fight between Superman and
Okay,
Clark Kent
I will
is
give you the
fucking
Superman
great.
on Superman
Everyone
fight.
knows
I
Is,
think
that.
everything
Everyone knows
every
that's great.
scene with a Netto tool is legit great.
Yes.
I
And
think
what
the
else?
relationship, I think the scene at the end between Lois Lane and Lana Lang is great.
Do you
what
love
was
the
that scene?
scene
What
where
was that?
Brad and Gus Gorman are hanging out and
I
drinking
like
with
it
their
because
cowboy
it's
hats?
terrible.
And that's all I wanted you to say,
What
Brad.
I'm
Just
saying is
admit
that the
it.
movie is a fucking mess. It's a mess. It's a mess, but it is much more compelling to watch as a
No
mess
way.
than Superman 2, which is drab and offensive.
No, I can't go there
No.
with you. I can't go there.
I know
He's
you
Brad.
can't
wrong.
go
I
there with
can't.
me
I
because
He's
there's
wrong.
can't.
When
only
he's
one
wrong, he's
genius
wrong.
on a podcast.
You're reflecting the total Bradness of
You really
the
are.
Superman franchise right now.
You really
in
are.
this moment.
You're drunk on your own
Great.
Bradness.
You're
There
drunk
can be
trying
many
to.
Supermen, and
You've
there
got
have
your-
been
you got
many
your-
Supermen.
Richard
You got your off-brand
Pryor
Adidas.
has
You got
got
your
you to
off-brand
drink
Adidas
yourself
kicked
into a super.
kicked up
and-
on the table. You got your giant cowboy, foam hat on, and somebody else is puppeting your arm to turn the key for you to get. I don't know what is he doing. I don't even know what he's doing. He's trying to get nuclear codes or something. He's not
Why
even getting
couldn't we just make the monster Brainiac? Like I think Ilya Salkind wanted to do that originally, like, and then I guess they were like, nah, people aren't gonna know what that is. They sure are gonna know what this like supercomputer with powers is. It's like I don't know. Like I
Like calling her brain, like you could call her Brainiac. It doesn't
call her
really
Brainiac.
matter.
Yeah, exactly.
doesn't
It's
matter.
fair. It's fair.
Nobody cares. Nobody cares
Nobody
about
cares.
Brainiac.
Richard Lester, least of all. He doesn't care the most of
I
anybody.
think taking the stance that Richard Lester doesn't care about this job, I don't think is true. I think he had a very different perspective on what his job was compared to Richard Donner. And you can go like, no, I don't like that. But I don't think you can say like he is purposefully trying to sabotage Richard Donner or he is snide. I just think he's
But
got
Brad, I think you could say the same thing about Zack Snyder, and I think you're going to have a
yes,
different.
and
to
I'm
say.
going to.
Well, but that's what I'm saying.
I don't
That's what I'm
think
saying.
Lester is. I don't think Lester
I'm going
is
to tell you,
trying
there's
to-
things in Man of Steel and BVS that I like. Is it as
Sure.
good as Superman the movie? No.
And if
Is
I'm
it
going to
better-
hold
are
this
they
to you, so
both
I'm
better
going
than
to hold this to you
Superman
right
2?
now. I'm going to
Yes.
hold this to you. I'm going to hold this to you. If you give a different or higher star rating,
I am not
for Superman
going to.
3,
They're both the Superman 3, Man of Steel, and BVS are all going to get the same star rating. Look at my letterbox, guys.
I just think I don't think Lester is like out to sabotage anything. I think he just is not remotely
incompetent
interested
director
in
and
making a
comedian.
Superman
He's not
movie.
an incompetent
And the-
director.
and
Go
the
watch the
Salkinds-
Three Musketeers
the
and the Four
Salkinds-
Musketeers. Talk to Quentin Tarantino and me. Richard
So-
Lester's got talent.
The Salkinds came to him and said, "Hey, would you like to make the next one for millions of dollars?" And for some reason, Richard Lester said, "Yeah, even though you screwed me over, paying me what I was due.
A job's
for
a job.
Three
He's
Musketeers."
British, dude. Have you not
Exactly.
seen Michael Caine's career?
That's the thing. He looked at it, he's like, a job's a job. I don't really care about Superman, but
No,
if you
I
let me
don't
be
think you
wacky,
could, like,
I don't
like-
think he did. I think Christopher Reeve did. I think a lot of why the movie works in terms of Superman stuff is Christopher Reeve. Anything that works in the movie is that. But I think Richard Lester, probably a conversation they had on set, which nobody will put this in IMDb, but I'm going to go ahead and say this as the gospel truth. I bet Richard Lester said, you know what, Chris, you handle the Superman stuff and I'll handle everything else.
That's
and
just
that's what
fantasy.
happened.
You're just speculating.
It is,
That's all
but
he
like
cares
based on
about.
the
He cares about
movie,
the
based on the
comedy of it.
movie, it seems pretty accurate. I don't think Lester was interested in a Superman movie. I think he got excited about working with Richard Pryor and got excited about kind of the comedic elements that he could bring to the film.
Yeah, maybe.
with
I don't know.
somebody
I'm
like
not
Richard Pryor.
I'm not a psychic. I can't go into people's
If
heads
we
and say
go
what they
to,
wanted.
let's go to
I can just look at the
Wikipedia.
movie.
Hold on, I want to see.
I looked at the movie.
I
wanna look
actually
at it
think
back.
I did read somewhere that the reason that Lester did it was because
Well, if it's
of
on
Richard Pryor.
Wikipedia, which totally wasn't written by ChatGPT, I'm sure it's true.
I don't think Lester was like coming to this thinking like, great, I can finally make something wonderful. I think he
just
was
say
like,
you
this is a
don't
piece of
know.
crap.
You
I'm
don't
getting millions of
know.
dollars. And I think the movie proves that we do know. The final product
No,
proves that everything. So
intention turns into all kinds of different things. Richard Lester clearly could direct
I agree.
dramatic sequences
I
between Annette O'Toole and Christopher Reeve.
I
And
agree.
he could stage an action scene or two, and then he could
Yes.
also do a lot of awkward, weird stuff that doesn't land as well.
Yes, agreed. I love A Hard Day's Night, and I think Lester has chops. I think it's a shame he thought Superman was so beneath him
You
that
can't
he couldn't
say
bring
he
those
thought
chops.
that. You can't.
He did.
Find me
He
the
said that.
interview where he said that.
He said many times, and the movie, the movie speaks for itself. Superman 2, the problems with Superman 2, a lot of them have to do with the Lester additions. But I think Lester in general was like, I don't care that much about like elevating Superman. I just want to embrace the comic sensibilities of it because
I would love to read this biography you're reading from.
The condescension is so clear. Like it's very, very clear.
I don't think so.
For me, just the filmmaking skills in general. Take away the context of it, of whether the comedy worked or whether the story worked or whether the characters worked or whatever. It is not a competently made movie either. It doesn't look great. You can see. I don't know what we're arguing about then, because there's nothing else
we're
there.
arguing about is that it's better than 2. 2 is also not competently made.
Agreed. And who made that? And who made that?
Richard Lester. It's a total mess. But what I'm saying is that my hot take is that this is a more entertaining movie than 2.
I just don't understand how, because you're taking.
I've just been shouting at you why it's out.
I know it. It's been empty. It's been devoid of anything useful for me. It's been another billionaire that's just throwing money at somebody who just accidentally can program computers and accidentally makes bad kryptonite. Like it's accident. It's Superman the accident. First one was Superman the movie. Third one is Superman the accident. It's
Superman 2 is Superman the accident. The Zod stuff the Zod stuff is just as interesting as the billionaire stuff. What I'm saying is that the heart of this movie has more emotional value than anything in 2.
Here's a quote from an 80s movie guide, Richard Lester talking about Superman and Donner. Donner was emphasizing a kind of grandiose myth. There was a kind of David Lean-ish attempt in several sequences, an enormous scale. There was a type of epic quality, which isn't in my nature. So my work really didn't embrace that. That's not me. That's his vision of it. I'm more quirky.
But what were the words that you were using? You were using words like snide.
Listen, I'm more quirky and I play around with
Richard Lester.
I think based on the film Superman 3, and let me finish his quote, I'm more quirky and I play around with slightly more unexpected silliness. Yes, he does. And I think what's clear is what he's saying is like, I don't need to give it the level of
Donner.
I don't give it the level of gravitas because I'm British and I don't care about Superman.
Oh,
and I don't see the value of Superman.
No. He never said that.
I am inferring,
yes,
and I guarantee
I am
you,
inferring. Thank you.
If Superman 3 was a good movie, then you would be right. But because it's a bad movie and demonstrates that this guy clearly does not care about Superman or make
what I'm also saying is that a bad movie is okay and enjoyable.
Right. And you can say that, but I also think it says that Lester did not care about making a good Superman.
No, it doesn't
he
say
cared
that.
about making a wacky movie that had Superman in it. And that is the end of that. And I think it's obvious.
We're going to have to agree to disagree.
How many tar-infested kryptonites would you give Superman 3? Brad.
3.
Oh my God. Aaron. How many tar-infested kryptonites?
Oh boy, I'm gonna give it 2. I'm gonna give it once. There's 1 star for evil Superman flicking nuts at the bottom shelf.
No, just leave it there. Just say evil Superman flicking nuts.
Yeah. And then 1 star for Robo Vera or whatever her name is.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. 2 for me for all those reasons. Superman 4. 4 years after the failure of Superman 3, we get Superman 4. The Salkinds, by this point, they'd made Supergirl, which was a movie, and
A better
that
movie than
was
Superman 3. I'm putting it out there. I'm saying it right now. Supergirl is better than Superman 3. Come at me, Brad.
I haven't seen Supergirl in forever.
Supergirl. Well, at the very least, nobody saw Supergirl, and nobody liked Supergirl. So the Salkinds were basically like, all right, I guess we're done with Superman, and they sold the rights to Canon, and Canon thought this is going to be their cash cow. They were kind of, had a string of, let's say, unique films, and I think they thought, like Richard Pryor, that Superman 4 was going to like legitimize their transition into serious filmmaking. Um, with with oodles of cash, they managed to win over Christopher Reeve and Gene Hackman and bring them back. They gave Christopher Reeve like pretty much, I don't know if it was full creative control, but significant control over the story. And they also said, we will greenlight and fund a script of your choosing if you come back and do Superman 4, which I think was it Street Smart? It was the movie with Morgan Freeman.
Yeah.
But they also produced that. So they basically got Christopher Reeve back. They got Gene Hackman back. And then right before production started, I think they slashed the budget in half because they were running out of money very, very quickly. And what they ended up with was the movie that killed the Superman franchise and kind of killed superhero movies until Batman saved the day in '89. But Superman 4 is like the most B movie of all Supermans.
Yeah.
It's 100% like this is the one you put on at like a midnight movie screening with your buddies. Like you go to see this as like in a string of terrible B movies. And all that said, I like it more than Superman 3 because at the very least it feels like a Superman movie. And I appreciate the sentiment of what Christopher Reeve is trying to do. But it's a pretty bad movie. Aaron, how do you feel about Superman 4?
Superman 4 is better than Superman 3. Um, it's a perfectly canon Superman. I mean, that's what it is. It's not trying to pretend to be what it's not. It has a good use of, if we're going to bring back Lex Luthor, it's a good use of him creating his own anti-Superman and having a weird imitation of his voice. And
I
then
love it.
it's great. And then bring along Lenny Luthor, and that's a whole real treat. Way funnier than anything Richard Lester ever wrote. And it comes in at a tight, exactly 90 minutes.
It's true. 90 minutes. That is a major plus. Brad, how do you feel about Superman 4?
I don't think it's that great.
He likes the subtlety of Superman 3.
No, we can keep arguing it. You know what I like about 3? I just blew out my voice screaming it into the microphone. I can't believe I haven't gotten a knock on my door from my neighbors.
They're gonna knock on your door, but not to yell at you for yelling. They're gonna be like, Brad, you don't really like Superman 3 that much.
They got questions about my Superman 3 opinion.
Or they're gonna knock me like, is this another Superman argument?
This
is the third one this week, Brad.
I really enjoyed the setup of Superman 4 Quest for Peace. I love the scene at the UN. I love the little kid writing to his
I know you would do
teacher.
Good.
Yeah. I also really like, the planet getting bought out. I think Jackie Cooper is great as Perry White. I don't think we've talked about Jackie Cooper so far this episode, but he's fantastic and he's really good at this. And Mariel Hemingway coming on so hard to Clark, I think is fun too. She just straight up gets on top of her desk to greet him. So when he walks in the door, all he can see are her gams. She is hot to go.
I will also say something I really do genuinely like about this is the way Christopher Reeve portrays Clark is less cartoonish. It's still that kind of bumbling, like, yes, Clark is the disguise, but there's more sincerity to it in a way we haven't seen. We saw it in Superman 3 with Annette O'Toole, but he's also eating dog food and still being kind of a goofball. I think, like, when he's talking
Purposely,
about,
remember, he ate
yeah,
that dog food on purpose.
it's very, very sweet and charming. But in Superman 4, like, he has moments where he's talking, like, he's like, the Daily Planet stands for this and this and this. Like, he's less of a caricature and more of a, like, an actual person. So I really appreciate that Reeve developed Clark a little bit more in this one. Now
Yeah.
you still have to deal with the whole sequence when, like, there's a double date and, like,
Oh,
he's being carted out on a luggage cart, and
but I
so
love
he can
the
change.
going to the gym scene.
Yes, that's great.
Yeah.
It's great. The no pain, no gain, like, that stuff is fun. And Christopher Reeve, like, once again, he's the steady rock through this entire franchise. Like,
Sometimes I
he's
wonder
so
how
good.
Richard Lester would have handled those comedic scenes.
There may have been. I think the difference, honestly, between Superman 3 and Superman 4 is Superman 4 is sincere, where 3 felt snarky to me. 4, I think, is trying to be an actual Superman movie, which is what
Yeah.
gives it the edge for me. I don't think it succeeds as a film. It's
No.
very bad. Um, its heart is in the right place. I think, like Nuclear Man is very, very goofy. A lot of, the special effects are atrocious. They're worse than they were 10 years prior. Somehow, I don't know how, but the
Well, it's the
effects seem
Canon
to get
team. It's
worse.
it's 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 giving them
Yeah,
like a shoestring budget and nothing to work with. But I agree. I think the thing that works the best is specifically Christopher Reeve, because it's his heartfelt passion project. He had something adamantly uh, that he wanted to say and to get across, and something that he thought was important. And I truly think that he kind of uh, took on the role as Superman in a much more public way, that he felt
yeah.
like that character could do something for mankind outside of the movies, and that I kind of felt was something much more interesting and engaging in the movie. Again, agreed that the movie never um, was able to fully uh, create, just because it just felt inept, and that it wasn't I don't know. There's the talent wasn't there. Like
Yeah.
the talent behind the camera did not match what was with Christopher Reeve.
Oh, it's also the budget, and then they cut literally an hour out of the film for the theatrical version.
I think it's probably best.
That's probably for the best. Like, I've seen those deleted scenes on the Blu-ray, and they are not good. I don't need this film to be an hour longer. I am glad it's only 90 minutes. But, like, you're losing a lot of stuff in that hour. You're losing a lot of potential context. There are things that just do not make sense, like Nuclear Man being very obsessed with what's her name, Mariel Hemingway. I
You lose all the context clues of Meryl Hemingway doing her breathing exercises, so when she goes into space, she can hold her breath
that's right.
for an extended amount of time.
It's very, very sad that, like, it only took 10 years, and it's just, like, to plummet this level, to go so low. I think what's great about it is, again, it speaks to just the true gem of talent that was Richard Donner. Um, but it also just is very, very sad that Christopher Reeve, Margot Kidder, all of them just kind of end up in this sort of joke of a franchise. Like, say what you will about Joel Schumacher's Batman movies, but, like, I don't think they got this schlocky, this, like, cheap,
Well, they
this, like,
weren't cheap. The Schumacher
exactly,
movies are expensive.
exactly.
That's
Yeah,
expensive
that's what
schlock.
I'm
Like,
saying.
when
Like,
you
they still
watch
had sizable budgets.
Quest for Peace, you can smell the death on it as you're watching it.
Yeah, it's very, very sad. And I really, I think Christopher Reeve, that final speech that Superman makes about, like, I wish you could see the world the way that I see it, is really touching. And they're,
And
like,
when you
really,
see it clipped out in TikToks, you're like, "Oh, maybe Superman 4 is
maybe
great."
it's maybe this is, I should go watch it again. You know what? Maybe we should get that extended 2.5 hour cut of Superman 4. Yeah, just watch that clip. You don't need the rest of the movie. Lenny Luthor, John. Hey, I'm glad John Cryer got to come back and play Lex Luthor and Supergirl. I think that's awesome.
I want that car. That
Yeah, the car is great.
yeah.
I want it with all the gadgets, like
Yeah.
the cops who are literally like, oh my god, the seat went back. How are we going to get out of this?
Yeah.
How are we? The top is very slowly
the
coming
sound
up.
system I'm really interested in, right? Because it's got these huge like Kuiger speakers on the side of the car, but then you're supposed to wear Walkman headphones as well.
I couldn't tell you.
It's fascinating. I like again, like
Uh-oh.
the thing
He's
is,
about to say it's better than Superman 2.
I mean, I do think it's better than Superman 2.
Are you being sincere?
I am being deadly sincere. No,
you're not.
I am. I think the film is cheap looking, like we've been saying. I mean, it looks rotten, this movie. It's
sad.
unfortunate.
It's sad. Yeah.
Some of the worst blue screen, the whole franchise launched on this idea of you will believe a man can fly. And then you get to this film and you go like, nope, I don't.
No, I don't.
To be fair, we did take it to Canon Studios, and
yeah.
So we know what we're working with. We know what the budget is. We know what our limitations are. So I feel like with that, I think I just appreciated the sincerity of what they were trying to do and trying to give us this big grandiose thing with the budget of a ham sandwich. It did not make sense, but
clearly,
they tried.
I give Superman 4 and Superman 3 a lot of grace.
Yes. Well, I think it's hard to dismiss this. And I think in recent years, Superman 4 has kind of, if people haven't been more forgiving towards it, they've been more affectionate towards it. And I think a lot of that does come down to what we've talked about, which is Christopher Reeve, of course, his performance, but also there is a sincere heart to this, trying to address something serious and like trying to like that kind of like using the geez shucks nature of Superman to say like, we're all in this together, everybody. Let's like, we can do better. Like, I think that's what makes it so heartbreaking.
An apologist can go into Quest for Peace and take snippets out, like we were saying, doing little TikToks and going like, oh yeah, like that's why Christopher Reeve is great as Superman. It's still here in Superman 4.
Mm-hmm.
I do think that because the movie looks so cheap and the response to it was so blah, it didn't kill superhero movies. It didn't kill comic book movies. We're just a couple years away from Batman 1989.
I do think it did kind of alter the trajectory of what the audience wanted, because when Batman came up, just 2 years later, we are looking at the dark gothic version of a completely different type of superhero.
Totally.
And I think the 90s kind of
I think what this film did was kill Superman in the public conscious.
For sure.
After this movie, the criticism of like, oh, Superman's boring, he's just too powerful, he's a big Boy Scout, he's not interesting, like that starts to take over in the 90s, and we're still trying to shake that loose.
Yeah, I mean, he literally pushes the moon in front of the sun. So fair enough. Maybe a little bit too powerful.
And in the comics, after this is when DC does their Death of Superman stunt to tremendous effect. And
what year was that?
That's 1993. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. And we are in the era of, John Byrne has just rebooted Superman to make him more grounded and human. So weirdly enough, that's something I think Christopher Reeve was really, really dying to do with this character. And certainly there is an effort on his part to make Clark and Superman a little bit more grounded and human. The final product doesn't work, but it's unfortunate that the film franchise went so wrong when the comics at this point were going so right. John Byrne's run eventually leads to Death of Superman. So we're
but I would argue, Shawn, that in 2025, if we're looking for a Superman vibe, we would rather have the vibe of Quest for Peace than John Byrne's Man of Steel.
I think you're right.
Mhm.
I do think you're right. And I think that's why Quest for Peace, as bad as it is, it's a film that I'm oddly fond of. I'm not going to come out swinging and saying it's better than Superman 2 like some people on this show, but I will kind of be the
like
person
the word
who
better. All right, we got to talk about this word better. All right, like better
Brad's
is a
had some
subjective
time to
term.
think about this.
Let's break the word down. B.
No. Again, I think I've already said this to you guys, but I am in like this haze of Superman 3 enthusiasm of like I went to war with y'all over Superman 3.
Oh, we
I
still have the scars. Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
I feel
It
it.
just happened minutes ago, guys. The thing is, like, when I say that Superman 3 and Superman 4 are better than Superman 2, I'm obviously speaking from my perspective, from a subjective place. Again, the reason why I like 3 and 4 more than 2 is because I find the fall from 1 really disappointing, really painful, and I really, 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 and I'm just talking theatrical cut, dislike the characterization of Clark Kent and Kal-El and Margot Kidder in the depowering storyline.
Yeah.
That's why
Fair.
I like these two
Sure.
more than that, because I don't have the pain of that. I don't have the disgust, the disappointment of that. Hence, 3 and 4 are better than 2. There we go. Okay.
I mean,
Right. Well, I mean-
isn't the whole crux of losing the power in order to have to defeat Zod in that way? Isn't that the whole crux of the storyline? Does that all work for you?
You're no. Again, let's go back to our conversation round 2 and
Oh
3.
no!
My disgust isn't the power loss.
Uh-huh.
It's how Clark Kent just does it, and then how Lois Lane reacts to it.
That's
You
why
know,
that's why the Donner cut is better. Just
again,
slightly. marginally.
I don't even. I'm not talking. I said I'm not talking the Donner cut. I'm talking the theatrical cut.
All right.
And that's why I like 3 and 4 more than 2. The reason I like 3 and 4 more than the Donner cut is because the Donner cut's not an actual movie, like we were saying. Like I was
Just
No, I
admit
agree,
that
I agree, I agree.
Admit that you love Nuclear Man.
I do
more
really
than
like him.
Terrence
Kinda rad.
Stamp.
I
That's
really
all-
enjoy.
That's a
No.
sick costume.
Terrence
He
Stamp's
likes-
better than Nuclear Man. Hold on.
Let's not go crazy here. I mean, how do we feel about Nuclear Man as a villain? I do think it
He's
was
fine.
This is
I think
not,
he's fun.
This is
It's
not,
bad, but
yes,
fun.
He
It's
is
camp.
fun. He is fun camp 100%. This
The
is not
Gene
a
Hackman
scenario.
voice is so
It's so
Gene
weird.
Hackman.
If you do not tell me where she is,
Yeah.
I will hurt people.
It's crazy.
it's-
but I'd
it's-
rather have the Gene Hackman voice in Nuclear Man than the Christopher Reeve voice in Young Clark Kent.
Fair enough.
I do
will
like
say-
that. I do like that Nuclear Man is essentially made of the one thing that empowers Superman. So it feels like there's, it feels like it shouldn't work, but I guess he's not emitting, sunlight from his nipples or anything.
And I
so
think in
it's-
4K, the
he does
animation,
have those nails though. Like,
Yeah,
those
he does.
nails are on another
the
level.
animation around him also, like the fire
Which gives
coming
him
off of his
pneumonia?
hands when he is born, like
Yeah.
it looks good in 4K.
Yes,
Yeah.
it does. It like I will. Yes, as bad as this movie looks, somehow in 4K there are moments that are like, oh, that's not so bad. The footprints that he burns into the floor
Love
of
it.
Lex Luthor, his loft.
Yeah. Also,
that's
the
great.
gangster in the movie, one of the gangsters in this movie
Jim
is
Broadbent.
Porkins. Yeah.
Yes, there's Porkins and then
Jim
Jim
Broadbent.
Broadbent, isn't it? Yes,
Yep.
that's right. So
Jim
what-
Broadbent, blah, blah, blah. Porkins, man. It's all about Porkins.
this is really, I think, my reaction to Superman 4 is being elevated just by the presence of Porkins. Honestly,
Who
But,
was that guy? Because he had just little bit parts in like huge movies.
This
Like, is
and
that
Raiders.
and Raiders? Like, that's
Yep.
crazy.
That's nuts. What a career!
He
But
must have
I
been. He
think-
must have had some dirt on some directors.
I do.
His
think-
name is William Hootkins,
Hootkins,
Oh.
okay.
and he's
alright.
also in Batman,
Yes,
the
he is.
1989 Batman.
Hey, Edgard, think about the future.
Exactly.
Is that him? Wait, no.
Yes.
No way. I didn't know that.
Yeah. So I like that Superman 4 gives us another villain Superman can fight. Like as a kid, it was like, great, Superman 2 and 4. Those are the go-to ones because those are the ones where Superman actually punches somebody or fights somebody. So that was exciting. Obviously not as exciting in retrospect, but I guess until Man of Steel, like this
But like
and
that's the other
Superman
thing
2
is like
were
we
the
have
only
so
ones.
much Superman now, right? So
Yes.
like having 2, 3 maybe bad Superman movies doesn't hurt as much as it once did.
I agree. And again, heart is in the right place. It's just execution, budget. Nothing is there to support the film, but Christopher Reeve
I
gives
think
it his
Christopher
all.
Reeve, and I think that's enough.
Yeah, I think so too. Any other thoughts about Superman 4: The Quest for Peace? Are we ready to throw our final ratings on it?
I wish Lana was in it.
Yeah, that
I don't care.
what I mean, I guess, switching hands, and like these people probably did not bother watching 3. And I think there was a concerted effort with 4 to depart from 3. I don't know if they were flat out like saying 3 is not canon, no pun intended, but I think there was an effort to be like, you know what, let's forget that one happened and this is a real movie. But it's like you can't bring the best part of Superman 3 over to Superman 4. You don't need to.
Here's the problem. There were
explain
no
it,
best
like-
parts of Superman 3. All right, get through your
Oh
head,
my
guys.
God.
back off.
Lana she's great. So how many
Except for Evil Brad and his knockoff Adidas.
Shit.
how many people would you hurt for Superman 4?
I'm giving it 2.5.
Okay, Brad.
I'm right there with Aaron. I think it's 2.5.
You didn't
I
sound
think
that
I'll-
way. You
I'll
didn't sound that way.
I like it a lot more than 2.5. So maybe it's a 3.
Yeah,
but-
okay.
Oh man, I'm.
I
All right.
do. It's the difference between that 2.5 and a 3. That's a big 0.5.
Mhm.
I would say 2 for this one. But I do like it more than 3, I would say.
No shit. Love what you love. You know
love
what,
you
Brad?
love.
Love your Superman 3.
But yeah, I take
Yeah.
everything. I take
I don't
everything
care.
back.
I don't
Wait
care
till
how
you hear
awful it
my
is anymore.
Superman Returns hot takes.
I'm ready for it. We're here. We are at Superman
Speaking
Returns,
of,
which is it's a requel, I guess is what you would call it. It's not a full reboot. It's not a direct sequel. It's somewhere in between. It is an attempt to wipe both 3 and 4 off the map and kind of serve as a sequel to Superman 2. I think that was the intent, but also it is just a flat out remake of Superman 1
Yeah.
without a lot of the fun stuff and without a lot of the heart of it.
I kind of feel like it's trying to legitimize now. I believe. Did this come out before the cut or post?
This came out right at the same time.
Same time, right?
I
It
think
was
they
kinda
were both
living
like
off
kind
the-
of released.
The heat of each
yeah.
other.
Yeah.
Maybe they're sharing notes in the background, but I feel like the Donner cut legitimizes this movie solely based on spoilers. The young kid in the movie.
Yes. Yeah.
Because
Well,
no, in the Lester cut, Clark goes to bed with Lois post powers being taken away. In the Donner cut, he's going to town before he gets his power
Going
stripped
to
away.
town.
All right.
Going to town.
So
Yeah.
Super Baby, that's when it happens right there.
Well, I think Donner also, Bryan Singer reached out to him for his blessing. And I think Donner really appreciated that and was willing to be like, yeah, like you have my blessing. And also let's mold my films so that they more directly connect to Superman Returns. Brad, do you remember seeing Superman Returns in theaters? Do you remember what the experience was? Were you excited for the film, or how did you
I was
feel?
extremely excited. I remember the first trailer. Like I loved the first trailer. I was ready for the return of Superman. And at the time I was still pretty excited about Bryan Singer as a filmmaker.
Yeah.
That's changed.
To say the least.
Yeah. I will say that my first viewing of Superman Returns did not go the way I wanted it to go. I found it pretty dull and uninteresting. And my feelings of the film have only decreased.
Mm.
Unlike my feelings for Superman 3 and Superman 4. This is more of a Superman 2 situation where I was like, okay. And then now I'm like, ooh, okay.
Your biggest issue is that Returns does not recognize 3 and 4 as legitimate movies. That's the biggest reason why you don't like it as much.
It doesn't
correct?
help. I just think the requelness of it all is just dull.
It was in retrospect not a good decision. Aaron, do you remember seeing this for the first time and your thoughts on it?
Yes, I think same. I think I was very excited about it. Singer was coming hot off the X-Men movies, and so he was like the kind of the it guy to kind of take it, and so I was really amped up about it, and yeah, it just kind of it was just I think I liked it a little more then, but I think it was just like a like. There was nothing like I wasn't like fully invested in going out and copping all the Superman toys and gear and all that stuff.
Brandon Routh is so good.
He's so good.
Great.
He's great.
Yeah,
he is great. He does a great job of not really trying to mimic what Reeve is doing, but really making his own. But you feel a connection between the two.
yeah,
But I think the main thing is like the story just felt so lazy when it's literally just a reversal of Superman the movie. I'm just like, I don't care about this. Make it into something interesting. We're in this this kind of new era where we're still using some practical effects and starting to dabble into doing some real interesting digital effects that aren't always working, but a lot of the digital effects do work in this movie. They did a pretty good job with a lot of stuff here, but they don't really care to do anything, I guess, too interesting with it. They do have some good action set pieces, but beyond that, it's not really that memorable for me, at least.
I wish they brought the kid in, like the super kid in sooner, so we would have a totally different plot.
Because
the
was a little too
idea
obvious.
of Superman dealing with being a father could have been interesting. And so when we do get that surprise, quote unquote, at the end,
I think that's why they saved it, is because otherwise this movie has no trump card. It kind of reminds me of and let me be clear, I think The Force Awakens is a much better movie than Superman Returns, but it kind of reminds me of, the complaint lodged against The Force Awakens is that it is very much A New Hope, which is like, that's I agree, but it doesn't bother me as much.
But that one's more of a handoff.
Yeah, I think what The Force Awakens, Superman Returns, and the Super Kid is similar to like Kylo Ren and the killing of Han Solo. It's like that works better for me in The Force Awakens than like the Super Kid in Superman Returns as a twist, because it works for the characters in Force Awakens better. In Superman Returns, I feel like the reason they kind of held back until closer to the end is like, what else does this movie have going for it surprise wise? It really is kind of just following the beats of the first film and not doing a whole lot different until that Super Kid is revealed. And then I guess you could call it the fourth act or the epilogue of the film is it's almost like Bryan Singer coming out from under the shadow of Donner and saying, now here's what I have to say about Superman, like the way people react to his death and Lois's relationship and Superman learning he's a father. But it's like, that's the last 20 minutes of the movie. I don't know if it works. Well, unlike you guys, I saw Superman Returns, I want to say 13 times in theaters. Whoa. I think this and Batman Begins, I think, does have the record. I think I saw that 15 times, and then I was working at a movie theater at the time, so I would sneak in during my shifts to watch like clips of Batman Begins. So I think maybe when you cobble those pieces together, I've seen Batman Begins more. But for me as a Superman fan, especially as a Richard Donner Superman fan, like just everything leading up to this movie was heaven for me. I was like, we've got the Williams theme, we've got Bryan Singer. I mean, I loved X-Men 1 and 2. We've got Donner's Blessing. We are treating this as a sequel to the Reeve films. Like, I was really, really on board. And when I saw the film, I saw it at midnight and I was really into it. I really, really loved it. I was so just happy to have a new Superman film. It, I think, overwhelmed any kind of negativity or any criticisms I might have had about the movie. And kind of like Brad, it you know, I'd say my opinion of this film definitely lessened since the release of it. But for the most part, I would say I liked it. I enjoyed it. I would call myself a Superman Returns apologist. However, this most recent watch of it, it just struck me how beholden it is to the Donner film, but how it just kind of like it's a pale comparison, and it is so self-serious. And I love Brandon Routh in the role of Superman, but I think the way they portray Superman in
Yeah.
this film,
Mm-hmm.
they really run with the Superman is Jesus slash God slash our savior motif that was in Superman the movie, to be fair, but it wasn't like this. Like, this feels like they take it to another level, and Superman feels so disconnected from humanity. It doesn't work for me. And I think the story itself, it's the wrong approach, and why I think the movie did not succeed at the box office and why the reaction to it was so lukewarm is because after 20 years without Superman, to make a film that is basically just a love letter to the Superman film
Yeah.
that we all
Mm-hmm.
know and love, but that we've lived with for so long. We need, like, Batman Begins had just come out the year before. We need a Batman Begins level, or even an X-Men 2 level of summer blockbuster excitement. And I think what Bryan Singer, for whatever reason, he decided to make the X-Men 1 version of Superman Returns when he really needed to make the more action heavy, interesting, uh more like take some more risks and do something more. It feels like this was a placeholder, like he was kind of like clearing his breath, because he's like, then when I make the next one, that one's gonna be the one that's really exciting.
You know what we needed? What we needed was Tim Burton's Superman.
Well, I was just about to ask, what would you
Uh,
guys have preferred? Because there was Superman Lives, which was Tim Burton's project. Then J.J. Abrams had Superman Flyby,
yeah,
and
I liked what I'd heard about J.J. Abrams' Flyby.
oh
There's
really?
things I
Because
didn't
that one's
like
that
the
one's like
Krypton.
wildly different, isn't it?
Yes, the Krypton stuff, like, I think Krypton doesn't explode until like halfway through the movie,
Well,
after
I'm not
long
sure if he
after
even
Clark
does
is an
because
adult.
I think it's like what he's like the prince of Krypton or something, and
Yeah,
he leaves
he's
because like a
royalty.
civil war, and I think he goes back by the end of it, and like there might be a kid involved in that one, and he kind of becomes the Superman of Earth. It's like it's all,
Look.
and I think Lex is like a secret
Yeah.
Kryptonian, or I don't
Kryptonian.
know.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
been years since
He's
I've read
like,
that
I
thing.
am, I am, yeah, he's like somehow a Kryptonian.
Give me the wild swings.
I hear you. I hear you.
I'll take a whiff any day over uh, a drab wannabe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't say I am sorry that we didn't get a Tim Burton Superman movie. But I have a lot of affection for Superman Returns. A lot of that comes from remembering the summer it came out and just how exciting it was to have this movie. Me and my dear friend Richie Pepio, who is literally, he and I have been best friends since high school, and the reason we became best friends is because we were in a play together, and as we were going to the changing room after a dress rehearsal, he was humming the Superman theme, and I started humming it with him, and it was like, oh, you can sing the thing, all right. And we've been best friends ever since. And so we were just thrilled beyond all reason. I think we thought that we were single-handedly going to save Superman Returns from box office oblivion by seeing it. He saw it the same amount of times I did. Like, we both were like seeing it over.
You could
and
just
over
buy
again.
the tickets and not go.
I mean, we could have, but like I genuinely like I got a thrill from watching the
Yeah.
movie. And there's stuff I really, as we're being dismissive about it, I think there's stuff like Brandon Routh, but like the plane sequence is great.
Yeah.
I really love, there's a great moment that people don't talk about as much that I always loved, which is the moment that James Marsden, he
James Marsden,
is
yeah.
Lois's fiance, and he goes to rescue them. The boat is falling apart, and they get trapped in the boat, and the boat is sinking. And it's Singer, he does a really, really great job of setting this up as like a moment of despair. Like it feels dark. It feels like, is this family just going to drown? Somewhere in the back of your mind, you're like, Superman's going to save them. But he does a really, really good job executing that sequence and really making it feel desperate. And the moment when Superman shows up to save them and the music kicks in, like that to me is a moment that is like, well, that's Superman, like a completely hopeless moment, uh, on the verge of death, and that's what makes Superman special. Like he can come in and be the one who lifts that boat out of the ocean and rescues them. So there are moments in this film that I like, and I love. While we're talking about James Marsden, I think along with Brandon Routh, he is the superstar of this film. He
He's
is
good.
so fantastic. I really like. I could take or leave Kevin Spacey. I don't love him
I
as
think he's
Lex
awful.
Luthor.
I think he's
Yeah,
awful.
it's a weird manic performance, and like there are traces of like, oh, this is cool. But
I mean, I feel like he's trying to ham it up like Hackman was, but I don't know if he has like the
Super missing it.
Yeah,
he
The
is.
it's just,
superstar of this movie, who I want more of, I would take a spin-off of, is Parker Posey.
Parker Posey, 100%.
Parker
100%.
Posey. I feel like
Who's she, Kitty Kowalski or something?
Yeah.
Yes.
She understands the assignment.
Yes.
Also, I love when they come back to the house and the one dog has eaten the other dog.
Weren't there
That
two
is
dogs?
very funny. Weren't
Yeah.
there two of those?
I also want to give a shout out to Cal Penn, who was obviously edited the crap out of this movie. You can tell, like he had some lines, and there was like, no, we're not. Paying
know
him.
what,
they edited about the White Castle.
Yeah,
Yes.
they did. Yeah, they did.
I think one of the things that absolutely kills this movie, and I love her in other things I've seen her in, but I think Kate Bosworth is not good as Lois.
I think she could have been good. I don't think the character is written well at all.
No, I don't think she or Superman are well written, and their relationship is very weird. And again, it's that, why is this the story that we decided to tell after 20 years? It's a semi-sequel to a movie that is at this point, what was it, like 30 years old, and people were, did I do the math right? Yeah, it's 30 years old, almost 30 years old. And what we're saying is Brandon Routh and Kate Bosworth, who are little babies. Like I think Brandon Routh was 24 in this movie, and Kate Bosworth was like 21. This is a movie that says these two have had a serious relationship.
Yeah.
They had a kid together,
Mhm.
and Superman has been gone from Earth for 5 years. So if we're doing the math, Kate Bosworth was 21 when she was in this movie. That means that she was 16 when she and Clark slept together, and Clark was 21. Like, they're too young to portray like the gravitas of like, this is an old flame, it's an old love. But also, that's not the story that we should be telling here. Like, this is a
Right.
new Superman. It should be new and fresh. And I think Bryan Singer's decision to essentially make a love letter to Donner's film, while I admire the sentiment as a Donner fanboy, I think as time has gone on and I've watched the film and really compared it to the original Superman, what this film lacks is just a sense of joy. It feels grim and sad.
Oh, and wonder, right? Like, I think one of the biggest disappointments, and I felt it there on the day I first saw it, is Superman returns to Earth, having gone out into the void for last signs of Krypton, and comes back and goes like, yeah, guess what, there's nothing out there. And just like this, like they could have done so much with whatever that search was.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know, and like him leaving in the first place is way more interesting than him returning.
Yeah.
I think and again, this speaks to, I think it is an incredibly misguided direction
Yes.
and I think this is part of Bryan Singer's problem at this point in his comic book directing career, is he's so tied to the reality of these heroes and bringing them into the real world that he misses the cosmic fun comic book elements that could have been told. Now, to be fair, this is the era of Batman Begins. We're in the era pre-MCU where we haven't quite embraced the sheer absurdity and larger than life elements of the comics.
He's the one
like
that
the cosmic
he's the one
stuff.
that kind of initiated that jump, was by putting the X-Men into, black leather biker gear, and
Right.
making a joke about, well, you're gonna wear blue spandex. Like, yeah,
Yes,
give me
yes.
the blue spandex.
So-
Yellow spandex.
I think
Shut up.
I think he kind of has this condescending view of like Superman the movie, Donner's film, is a masterpiece that elevates the source material. And it's like, yes, on what level that is true. But on the other level, Donner's film inspired a slew of comic book stories. And at this point in Superman's comic career, not only have we gone through the death and return of Superman and the John Byrne reboot, but we've got 4 All Seasons, we've got Birthright, we've got Red Sun, we've got so many incredible interpretations of this character that like bring in the big battles, that bring in the
We
cosmic
have All-Star
elements.
by this point.
All-Star, that yes. I think
What year
All-Star
was that? Really?
It was
2005.
Wow.
Yeah, it was just around this point. So it's like for Singer to essentially ignore the comics completely, which is kind of, I think, what he did with X-Men 1 and 2. He kind of took the elements that he liked in the characters, but then was sort of like, I don't care about anything else. To take that approach with Superman Returns and to have his movie basically say Donner's thing is the only thing worth looking at in this mythos. I know there are elements and there are references to like Action Comics #1 with Superman in the green car, or Kitty's car when it almost crashed. Like, yes, there are references to other parts of the Superman lore, but as far as story goes, as far as what the character is doing, it is not doing anything beyond what Donner had already done, and it's doing it in a way that feels like a lifeless imitation. And I think that's what really bugged me this time around watching it, was that realization of like, there was so much you could have done, but like I said, he made X-Men 1 and it should have been X-Men 2. We don't have time to sit around waiting 3 years for a sequel to be way more exciting. At this point, I felt like Nolan had raised the bar with Batman Begins, and for Superman Returns to kind of come out with this old school take, just the wrong approach. And, as much as I have a soft spot for it, I don't know that I would say it's a successful film or a particularly good film. It just kind of falls in that middle ground of like, nah. I guess final ratings. Is there? I mean, unless there's anything else we want to say about Superman Returns.
I'm good.
Yeah.
All right, final ratings. What are our final ratings for Superman Returns? How many
Kryptonite
dogs?
continents.
Yeah, Kryptonite continents. How many dogs would you eat for Superman
I'd eat
Returns?
so many dogs.
How many dogs would you eat for this movie, Brad?
2 dogs.
Aaron, how about you?
I'm gonna go a little more lenient. I'm gonna eat 2.5 dogs.
I'll do 2.5 dogs as well. Yeah. And that wraps up, I believe, this first leg of our Superman franchise rewatch. I think we have been a little beaten, a little bruised.
It was light outside when we started.
Well, there's more to come. Don't you worry, Aaron. There will be more to come. And
a dawn,
just have to tune in. There will be a dawn of
something.
Of something, yeah, for sure. It's coming.
BVS DOJ.
So, gentlemen, Aaron, we'll start with you. If the good people at home want to find you on the internet, where can they do so?
Good luck. You can find me at A Cool Hand Fluke. Barely posting anything anywhere, but I do like to write reviews and stuff on my Letterboxd. So find me on Letterboxd and do a like bomb as
pull a Brad.
as Brad tends to do every 2 months. It's been a while. I'm waiting for it. My phone's about to start going off in a minute. I'm sure.
I gotta wait till he's sleeping like 3 o'clock in the morning.
True.
Brad, how about you?
You can find me, you're talking about comic books, over at comicbookcouplescounseling.com. I do a podcast with my wife. We just did an episode with Chris Condon and Jeffrey Allen Love talking about the new Image Comics series, News from the Fallout. And if you like Quest for Peace, I think there are a lot of thematic elements from that movie in News from the Fallout.
We can just assume anyone listening to this loves Quest for Peace, so they'll definitely be checking that out.
And if you like Superman, just FYI, okay, now I'm going to do a real name drop. If you have listened all the way to the end of this episode and you have not,
you are cast in the next Superman film. Congratulations.
Well, I was going to say, like, if you have not rejected me because of my opinions of Superman 3, I want to say thank you to you. You're a very kind-hearted person, a beautiful listener. And Lisa and I did have the chance to talk to Grant Morrison all about All-Star Superman for about an hour. It's one of the best podcasts I've ever been a part of. I'm super proud of that conversation.
It's
Superman
one of my
3
favorites.
does not come up at any time.
Superman versus Muhammad Ali does, though, which is
sure as heck
fantastic.
does. Yeah.
So I second that. I love that interview so much, and I am also on the internet at YayShawnDoorman on Twitter and ShawnDoorman05 on Letterboxd and at ShawnDoorman on Instagram. It is a different handle everywhere because there is another ShawnDoorman out there who has stolen my identity. I still have not crossed paths with him. If you're out there, please explain this to me. How did this happen? I will also pat myself on the back end. I am currently celebrating Superman on my podcast, which, as I said, is typically the podcast where we watch all the movies we should have seen by this point in our lives, and also where the Franchyze Boiz hang out and talk about their movies. But this year has just been completely taken over by my love of Superman, and I've been interviewing all my favorite writers: Mark Waid, Jason Aaron, Philip Kennedy Johnson, Dan Jurgens. Like, I've talked to a whole bunch of people I absolutely love who have written some of my favorite Superman stories. Tom King was just on, wrote Up in the Sky. Like,
great episode, Sean.
Thank you so much. I'm thrilled beyond all reason and very just grateful that everyone has come to hang out with me. So check those out. There's more to come. Stay tuned. And yes, there are more Franchyze Boiz celebrating Superman episodes coming your way. So please stay tuned. And no, don't thank us. We are all part of the same team. Good night.